Hello. How's it going, everybody? Hope y'all had a good weekend. I definitely did. We're gonna hang for a bit, watch some videos, conquer some space, and I'm probably gonna be ending the early stream about 10 minutes early today. But I, of course, will be back for the later stream. So let's, oh, someone's at the door. Let's see, what is that? Oh, that might be, I wonder if that's our shoe thing.
Ooh. Or the work pants. I'm not sure yet.
Oh, it could be work pants. All right, well, we'll check later. Anyway.
All right, so why don't we do a topic we've seen before? Some tip came across my timeline, so I was like, you know
Some
what?
tip of what?
Oh.
Yeah.
We're going to see how much a table of 6 women tipped. First one, total was $51. They left $9. Second one, total of $32. $0 tip.
Well, that's not
$55.
Nice.
$0 tip.
Oh my God.
$60 left $6. $21 left $7, and then $23 left $4.
I mean, I'm not always the best tipper. Like, Aurora's always telling me there are certain places I don't like to tip where I should tip. But, like, when I do tip, it's usually, like, anywhere from 15 to 25%, depending on, you know, if it's a check, or large, you know, meal or whatever, or if they shove the thingy in your face and I accidentally pressed 22 because it was the first one instead of 15.
Oh.
But this is like, I mean, that's 15, that's fine. That's pretty unacceptable. 10% is on the lower side, but at least
Just
it's
not
something.
doing anything.
This is pretty good. $7 on 21, pretty good. $4 on 23, that's a little under 20%. That's fine for me. So this, and this, all, those are fine tips as far as I see it.
The zero ones are trash.
This is on the lower end. That's lame.
That's a lot.
Bucks.
Yeah.
So I am grateful
Honestly,
for
2
any
and
tip,
3 though.
but would prefer 20%.
Did she not say somebody had a $21 bill and left $7?
Yeah.
$21 left $7.
Isn't that like well over 20%?
It is.
But there's like videos of people complaining about tipping, but the one I really want to show you was
Gel.
When this woman tried tipping this restaurant, she came across the craziest situation.
Y'all check your places. I think somebody
Right to jail, right away.
That's a really good one. I feel like I should put that on my soundboard. What should I get rid of for that one?
Yeah. Oh. Let's see.
You don't need to go through every one.
Sheet.
Yeah, I don't really use that one. It's a fun one, but I don't really use that one. Let me look at the
Helps good. AI cringe, but that could be useful.
Hang on.
Bingo, I don't know.
Hang on. No, that's not AI cringe, that's all cringe.
Oh.
That's a great one. I love that one. Hang on.
Either way,
Here,
I
let
guess
me
it
play
works.
that one. Give me a
But
sec.
thank you, yeah.
Where is it?
AI.
Well, no, I
That was
mean,
funny.
that's fair. I think.
Okay.
Oh no! Al-Qarinj!
I like that. Okay.
Yeah, I like that one. All right, let's see.
Shut up, Wesley.
That's a keeper.
I
of
love
course.
that one.
Yeah.
So good.
Do I need the sheep one? Let's see. Where is it?
This one probably isn't very.
Why do you think fraternities have you screw sheep and all this and, give guys blowjobs?
The Family Guy one is great. I love that one.
What about this one?
That's a bingo.
Absolute keeper.
Why do you think fraternities have you screw sheep and all this and, give guys blowjob?
It's funny, but I don't really know when to use it, so
Yeah, okay.
I think I'm gonna get rid of that one.
Chop it.
And then we add right to jail. Right away.
Yay. I'm gonna really use that one.
I'm gonna come.
Right to jail, right away.
Good. That's a good one.
Where is it? Where is it? Where is it?
It's at the bottom.
Touched on this not too long ago, but
Right to jail,
Okay,
right
you
away.
see that?
It doesn't change. Wait, go ahead.
No. The checkout is $40. She clicked 20%. It gave her a $30 tip.
What?
Do you understand what that means?
That means that this machine is rigged.
$30 tip on 40 is close to like 75, 80%.
Yeah.
So I've been seeing a lot of these things, different things when it comes to tipping. You saw people crying. You saw other folks tipping on wedding dresses.
Brittany Henderson Curry
15
says she
to
left a
20% I think is
15% tip
reasonable.
on a
That's fine.
$1,700 dress. If you do the math, that's $255.
You go to self-checkout, they ask you to
But it
tip
also
on
depends,
self-checkout
like-
at a grocery store.
It also depends on the job they're doing. Like if somebody is doing a delivery for me from the McDonald's that's right around the corner, I just do solid $3 every time.
Yeah,
That's it.
super low.
That's fair. It's 5 to 10 minute drive right around the corner, $3 every time. That's fair.
Whatever 10% is, like if it's super close.
That's always going to be more than 10% anyway. I'm not buying $30 worth of McDonald's.
Or
The worst that I got is I
What?
was at the airport.
Not usually.
Not usually, yeah.
okay.
And they have these stands where you select your product and then you scan it and then you pay.
Yeah.
Bitch, they asked me for tip. I'm like, am I tipping me? Because
You did the work.
I even did the.
Yeah, another one is like when I go to like a place, right? And they have like all the food pre-made and ready to go. And it's like, oh, I want that one. And then they get it off the thing and hand it to you and they're like, this much. Do you want a tip? And I'm like, you didn't fucking do anything. You just handed me the thing that was back there. What do you mean do you want a tip? What I could have done that. Let me back there, I'll take it. Maybe you can tip me.
Cashier's work.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to tip who? Even the Uber drivers are like, yo, ganging up on you. You seen those videos?
What, Uber drivers asking for
It's
tip?
like when it's like the person step up there.
Look, this guy is asking me for a tip because he's an Uber XL and he doesn't want to take me because I have a...
I get it though. The dude has a 49ers face mask on, so like that's fair to not want to tip him. I wouldn't want to tip him either.
fridge. He wants a little bit something extra in order for his trouble. So no, he's asking.
Refrigerator.
It's a mini fridge. It weighs 61 pounds.
Bro,
It's a
okay.
mini.
Okay. I think the Uber driver is in the right here. That's 61 pounds. That's a thing, bro. Like, yeah. That guy deserves a tip. Although, again, he's wearing the 49ers mask, so it's going to be a smaller tip.
Mini fridge.
What do you think? Wrong or good?
Wrong.
Who's wrong?
Driver. Uber driver.
Really?
I agree. My reasoning was yours.
Huh?
What's your reasoning?
Uber XL. He has a fucking trunk. He has a truck.
Did he,
Like,
well,
what
did he
what are
carry
we
it?
talking about? He's
Wait a
already
minute.
paying extra.
Wait a minute. Did he carry it anywhere? If he had to carry it somewhere, I think it's fair. If someone put it in the truck, you just drove it, and then you get it out, okay. I still tip because I always tip Ubers or taxis or whatever, but like I guess I can get the argument. Let's see, what got you? Why?
I didn't do anything. How dare you?
How dare you?
What the hell?
It was the auto.
Yeah, but why? I don't even understand. Maybe it's the numbers and the
XL and
percentages.
Uber.
That's weird.
I will prove to you that there's nothing wrong with this. It's super easy.
Yikes.
You go to the airport. You take your luggage with you. I've never had an Uber driver tell me you want to
Yeah,
bring your
I
luggage
said
with
it's
you.
spam.
What? If an Uber driver said some shit like that to me, I'm canceling and I'm reporting his ass.
100%.
Guys,
100%.
he ordered it. If it was a regular Uber and he did that, I could understand.
It's XL. I got no sympathy for that.
You know what I mean? At XL, you put in 5 people, all weighing 150 pounds each. Like, you're doing too much.
No.
You know, if he was bringing multiple boxes, okay, maybe.
He's already paying extra for the XL.
Yep.
What are we talking about?
Yep.
Look, if you don't want to take me, then be my guest, cancel, and I'll get somebody else to come pick.
Oh, I'm sorry. He's putting it in the truck? Okay. No. That is kind of ridiculous.
But you're the
for
one that's
him
going to
be
cancel.
demanding a tip.
It's you.
He has a navigator. Oh, fuck me sideways.
What does that mean?
That's a big ass truck. Nah, B. That's a fucking goddamn limousine up in this bitch. You can store 7 passengers in there. You have a problem with a 61-pound fridge? Nah.
I'm telling you.
Hell nah.
That's your name?
Yeah, whatever the fuck, man. You said I'm gonna fix it.
Yes. Okay, well then cancel.
So not only is this Uber driver breaking the policy and doing this whack ass shit, he's asking the passenger
The
to
more I
cancel.
watch this, the more I'm on the
So the
passenger
passenger
side.
starts to pay him. Yo, Uber drivers, a lot of them are super slimy.
Yeah.
I saw one Uber driver, he has his trip. He essentially drives closer to the place and then stops somewhere that's nearby, like 3 minutes away, and just sits there. So if you have to go somewhere, they're hoping you cancel so that they still get the money for the ride or part of it.
Yep.
There's a lot of slimy shit.
You're an Uber driver. It's your job.
It's a Lincoln Navigator, bro.
Ain't no.
Ain't no way.
No.
Look up Lincoln Navigator.
It's okay, I know.
Look it up. I'm sorry. I don't know what I'm screaming.
It's okay. I got neighbors, please. There's a lot of debate.
Yeah.
Over time, I think there's been a more increased negative sentiment towards tipping. I think studies show that the majority of people in North America hate tipping culture and the way it's going. And I'll say my European friends who live in many European countries where they don't tip look at us and think we're crazy. And
Yeah, but that's because they include
gone to many
gratuity.
restaurants where they don't tip. I've also seen
That's a
service
little different,
equal,
though.
if not better, in many places.
That's
so
a
the question
little
I always ask
different.
myself is like, okay, we're not getting better service. We're having to pay more. They're not necessarily always getting a good wage for the work that they do. Tipping, from what I understand, is a way for the restaurant to get extra profits because they themselves don't have to pay the proper wage to their employees.
I agree.
But to me, that just screams that, a lot
that
of
restaurants should
shouldn't
just
be in
pay
business
a
'cause
proper
they don't make
wage. I
enough money
agree.
to pay them
But
well enough,
we're
or they're
also in
greedy
a
and they wanna
situation where
take all
that's
the
just
money.
Well,
not
it depends where you at because sometimes it is the law. For example, here,
This whole
all
country
the
needs
service
an adjustment.
and the people
What'd you say, love?
The whole country needs an adjustment.
Yeah, I agree.
that are working in the service, by law, it is their wages on tip. So they minimum salary is not the same as our minimum normal salary. And they get taxed on the tips. So it's part of the way it's done here, even by law. But by law, here, you pay, for example, you're a server, you're going to be paid a lower rate, and you're going to be charged 8% on your tips.
Okay,
Go ahead.
my question to you is, they don't have to charge the $3 an hour. They can charge. They can.
The government?
No, the restaurant. It's not by law that they have to pay the minimum, the minimum set for restaurants and for service. They can technically just pay their restaurant.
They could, yes, they could. That's correct.
Okay,
You're
okay,
right. You're right.
yes. All right,
You're
so it's not a law that makes them pay that.
No, but
They
there's a
choose
law.
them.
If you choose to go by that, by law, you have to pay that amount, and they will pay that amount. But yes, you're right.
Okay.
You don't have. Yes, you're right. You don't
Okay.
have to.
Okay, because when you said there was a law that makes it that way, I'm like, I don't think that's. But I understand what you're saying. There's a law that enables them to, and if they do, they have to pay a certain amount of taxes on the tips.
That's but that's the proper words. Yes.
Okay. No, that's something. I was like, oh shit! By law, are these restaurants forced to pay them $3 an hour? Okay, makes more sense. But yes, what are your thoughts? How do you feel about tipping culture? How do you feel about the whole Europe versus here, places where they don't do tips versus where they do, where they pay less, etc.
I've been to Europe countries where they don't accept tips. Yeah, like you said. And where I've been, I haven't been to France. But where I've been, I haven't been to Paris. Let's put it that way. But where I've been, the service was pretty much the same. It was service. They're paid their wage or whatever. And I've been to a place where they don't necessarily accept tips. No, they don't enforce tips, but if you leave it, they'll be glad. You know, they'll be happy. Me personally, if I have a great freaking service with a smile, I appreciate that. I tip. That's probably the way I was raised, and the way it was. So I travel with that. But I'm not gonna like tip people that really went where it's frowned upon. Here it's getting abusive because I don't want to fucking go to Subway and then yes, you made my sandwich, but I'm not even eating at your place. Like, someone has to make the sandwich. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Someone has to make it. And then I have to tip you. I'm not even eating at your spot. And from the back, you're asking for 18%. That's a bit crazy. Hairdressers ask for a tip. That's crazy. That's you, your product, your expertise. That's, if I want to leave a tip to my barber, that's up to me. But I've seen some places that they really ask for that. I've been fortunate enough, my barber don't do that, but still. There's some places where they go overboard, really. There's no, I'm sorry, you go buy a wedding dress and the person's like, what? What, I gotta shop the Macy's and I gotta tip the person too? That would be crazy. You're doing the same thing. Oh no, but I'm an expert. Okay, well, the person that is employing you should pay you that expert fee because I'm not paying for a $30 dress. Sometimes you have $14,000 for a dress or whatever, whatnot. So, food trucks. I mean, you made the food. I'm not even eating at your spot. You don't have a seating area. Where am I? What? I take my own plate to the trash can. What service are you doing? You're not even cleaning tables. So I'm like, yeah, here in the West, it's getting really out of hand sometimes.
I just hate the idea that so I've heard some people say, if you're not going to tip, I'm not going to offer good service. And it's like, okay, so your only incentive for doing your job is whether or not I give you 20% of this bill.
Here, that is really what it is, because the thing that happened is that if you just pay what your drink is, they're gonna get taxed on that.
And I've seen bartenders. If you don't tip them, they take it into note, and if you try to order something again, I've seen them just hand people glasses with like ice in it, and then like a drop of the drink. I've seen them get really pissy about it.
I can understand
or
that.
They ignore it, and I get it based off how they get paid, but you have to understand, it is probably one of the only industries where it's like that. The other people, they get paid a wage that they're supposed to get paid, and they're expected to give a service because they get paid appropriately, right? And also, think about the idea that, like, let's all be honest, none of this correlates with better service. We all agree? Because if that's what you guys are saying, that means that everywhere else that isn't the restaurant industry that doesn't involve tips, they're not offering good service. That they don't come to work and try. That's what essentially you're saying. I don't believe that. I've never been to a restaurant and thought, wow, when I come here, I get served so much better than when I go to anywhere else where they don't accept. That's just not my reality. Is it yours here in North America? I mean, I go to Home Depot and people are super helpful and
because they're not paid the same wage that the bartenders are paid, and they're not they don't have to pay extra taxes for that wage. So I can understand that. They're like, yeah, I'm paid for my service. It's just like whenever you used to go to Future Shop back in the days, and people were like, yo, you want this, you want that, because they were paid. They had commission. You go to Best Buy, they're like, hey, what's up? You good? Cool. That's part of my job. I'm paying the wage. I'm not paying under. I'm paying what I'm here to serve you. So let's go. That's a bit of difference. I'm paid to really serve you. I already make my money. Whether I sell more or not, I'm good. So I'm gonna sell you what you need and not try to oversell you. Do you want another product, other this? You know what I mean? So
you're technically making my point.
I am making your point.
What that essentially says is that people who get paid on commission literally don't have your interest at heart. They have no incentive to really make sure that you're getting the best thing. They have only an incentive to make sure they sell as much as possible, irrespective of your need. I know, because I did sales for a very long time. Half the shit that we had to sell, they didn't want to buy it that much. I had to really move to convince them. So my whole idea is that the best service is one that's neutral and that, like, how can I help you, but not one that's forcibly trying to get you to get things you don't need, okay?
Yeah.
So all I was trying to say with this is that the service that I'm getting from people who are asking for tips isn't above and beyond, yet based off the price tag involved, I'm expected to go above and beyond. That, to me, that correlation is an interesting one.
But the other aspect as well of tipping is that I know that if I go to certain places and I tip more, the next time I'm going to go, they take me more in consideration than other people.
Sure.
I know I'm gonna pass lines. I know I might be able to move. I'm not gonna do it, but they're gonna move people off the table for me to sit at. That is what happens. So yes, sometimes it correlates with better service, but to me, in the restaurant world, in the service world, in the F&B world, food and beverages, world, if you tip more, it does equal better service. But what I've seen commission world, it's not the same thing because
that's
they're trying.
predatory. If you pay for more stuff, they're just gonna try to sell you more shit.
Yes, it is predatory. So the food and beverage industry is really different than, for example, Commissions. I didn't like doing commission. Didn't like doing sales when they try to see. Yeah, you have to. There was one thing when I was working selling cell phone. There was something that they were calling IPS, which is item per sale. So you couldn't just sell a phone. You'd have to sell accessories with your phone. And sometimes I'm like, you don't need it. You already have it. But I had to push it. I'm like, it's a bit disingenuous.
I get what you're saying. Yes. If you were to tip 50, 60, 100% more, yes. If you pay 20%, they don't give a f.
No.
They're not going to offer you
but
nothing.
It's normal.
But that's the standard, right?
Yeah.
If I go to Best Buy and I slip the nigga 50, when I come back, he's also going to give me. Why? Because I'm going above and beyond. Unnecessarily. But I'm going above and
You're
beyond.
going to get fired.
What up, neighbor Rudy?
Regular tipping, which is the standard that they're expecting, is not getting you better service.
No, it's not. You're right.
I can go anywhere. There's not even a restaurant there. If I hand you at the door $100, I'm getting in right away. That's not a restaurant thing. That's an everybody thing. Now, if you want to pay for extra features, baby boy,
baby girl,
baby boy, go right ahead. But here, we're paying for extra features. We're not getting extra service.
Sure.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
I go out, I pay a tip because it's a standard here, and I'm not going to,
Same.
at the end of the day, the restaurant workers, I'm not trying to shit on them, okay?
I did the same thing. I'm in the same boat and I've been rowing, so I understand. So I'm a tip.
I'm not trying to shit on them because at the end of the day, we have the structure in place. But I think the structure sucks. I think that they should remove the tipping and force these restaurants to pay them appropriately and give them raises based on performances and need. But that's me personally. I know a lot of people who work in the service industry who would hate that because they actually make quite a bit of money from these tips. I know some people who are making mid to high five figures in some places, which is a lot, but hey, get your money. I'm not gonna stop nobody. But the tipping stuff is just crazy. Like they're asking for tips in place that makes no sense. I feel like there should be change because if it's not offering a better service and it's just putting it on the consumer, I'm like, well, why? Why is that a good thing? I will say though, one thing that's interesting about tipping, when you have bad service or mid-service, tipping 10% is not well seen either. But it's like, okay, I pay 20% for mid-service. I pay 25 maybe for very good. But if I pay less and your service wasn't that good, I'm the bad guy?
Yes.
That's the standard.
Yeah.
So even though we say tipping might correlate, if I tip you less for it, you're going to look at me like I'm a piece of shit, even though your job reflected, you should get a 0%, bitch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got my orders wrong. You was over there yapping. You didn't make me feel reassured that you're going to bring the shit out. It's like, I've never done it before. I've seen someone else that I was out with do it, and I thought her reaction. Hey, man, you know, shout out to Guillaume. You know, this was a white dude I was with, and he didn't even care.
Either would.
Oh, he was like, oh, both and stuff. And he was like,
yo, he was French.
He was an individual.
French.
Yes.
From Paris.
Yes.
Yeah.
He smelled like it. And fromage. No. My French people were fine. The ones who shower. And he did that, and I saw her shocked. But in my head, I'm like, is he really that crazy? Like, I wouldn't have done it because I don't want to deal with this weird interaction. I can't be bothered to have you be like pissy about it. Wow. And I could afford it. But is he wrong?
No.
There you go. But anyways, I just want to have this quick chat about it because I saw some of these videos and they made me laugh. All right. Anyways, that's it for this.
Well, that was interesting.
Yeah.
I would love to debate you on your healthcare policy. I think we need Medicare for all. You think public option, your housing policy, etc. I'm just being really real with you.
I want to talk about Israel.
They were part of your political coalition. Well, that's
true what she just said. Notice how none of you fucking sloppers are protesting over Republican government. Even last week, the protests were against fucking Schumer and Jeffries. Yep. It's crazy. Donald Trump. What were the tough rooms that Donald Trump was in when he was running for president? Was there a single one for 2024? No, which is funny because these are the guys who always say like, Democrats didn't even have a real primary. You guys didn't have a real primary. And it's like Donald Trump literally skipped all of your debates. You guys didn't even really have a primary. But
like Ezra Klein has been a cheerleader and champion of genocide for years. Just
a cheerleader and champion of genocide. Then we've got some Peace Go Slap. It's my last video.
Go into it with, be open to a different interpretation because I actually rewatched that.
Tim Miller's
I watched it at the time and I had the same reaction that I did the last time I watched it, which was a few days ago, just to like remember what that was about. I think in that moment, she is a adult who feels a bit of contempt and frustration that she has to like talk to children.
Oh,
that's my take.
That's why I said regardless of your politics, I just think optically it still looked bad. Like I don't think she handled that well if you agree with her. I don't think she handled it well if you disagree with her. Like I think that is not if you're going to be under fire running for president. I think it's really just not a good look if that's how you handle adversary. And if you like compare that,
keep in mind that the President Trump didn't go on any shows where there was anything adversarial ever. It never happened, but
like, I don't know, Bill Clinton on like Fox News. I just don't think she had good responses. And I agree. I really don't like Crystal Ball either, and on a lot of issues. So I'm not like saying this as like a.
They're talking about, I think, Slotkin when she did her interview with Crystal Ball, which was just unbelievable.
A Crystal Ball Breaking Points fan. So
I could not disagree more. Like I
I've never watched that. I heard that you were saying that she got like Giga Ambush on there.
Yeah.
Shit.
Joining us, this was like the first time, or maybe one of the first times, this was like really early on, where we saw like a Democratic big like politician start to go on like alternative media stuff, and it was Slotkin, who is a senator in Michigan, decides to go onto Breaking Points, and I think she thought that this was going to be like one right-leaning guy and one left-leaning girl, and she didn't realize it was just two slopulists, and
they fucking grilled her.
Yeah, let me see, but it wasn't. It was not even just that they grilled her. It's that fuck. When did they get to Israel?
God.
It's like crazy brutal. Hold on.
Yeah, he's the Democratic nominee. I see. I'm sorry. This is why I'm saying I don't follow New York politics, and I think the you'd have to ask them. I don't know. I know that for me, whoever wins the Democratic primary.
Oh, this is like why isn't everybody endorse Mamdani? Why didn't they all endorse Mamdani?
In the state of Michigan for the Senate seat that's up, that's why I will endorse, regardless of who it is.
That was my last question.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm actually a little curious, and forgive me if this is impolite. Like, I'm curious why you wanted to talk to us. What do you mean? We don't have actually a lot of senators, especially ones who have very different ideology than us, reach out. So I'm curious what your goal was and why you thought to come here.
Well, first of all, I think you have a good audience. I mean, right? If you appeal to like 4 friends on YouTube or whatever, then I probably wouldn't be here. But I think to me, part of the problem is that people have kind of gone to their corners. And I live this, right? I live on my family farm in a town that voted heavily for Donald Trump. I've never won my town. I've never won my precinct. I've never won my neighbors. We get along, but I never won them. I probably never will. So to me, I think that the people have gone to their corners, and like people who used to be able to talk about politics and disagree don't even get in the same room together. So I kind of like the idea of your show. Like it was interesting to me when my team pitched me, right? We go through, and like there's no hiding it. Lots of people are like, how do we evolve in this new space? You know, like that's not it's not that conversation isn't happening. It is, and I think that's good, and to the credit of lots of shows like yours. Yeah. But I think your show appealed to me as I was being pitched because you guys don't agree. And like I am very focused. My dad was a lifelong Republican. My mom a lifelong Democrat. Like Michiganders want to get back to a place where we can disagree on politics and not have it be so like bitter.
So I hear you on the idea of like you want to talk about economics and the unifying and cost of living, and I think that ignores a big elephant in the room, especially when you're talking about even Zoran Mamdani. The reason Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer don't endorse him is because of his position on Israel. The single most viral clip that he had in that election actually wasn't about cost of living, even though that's what he wanted to make his campaign about. His opponent, Andrew Cuomo in particular, wanted to make it all about accusing him of anti-Semitism and attacking him for his views on Israel and Palestine. So the most viral moment from that entire campaign, I believe, was this moment on the debate stage. Guys, this is E1. Let me go ahead and play this for you, and I want to get your reaction.
Mr. Mamdani, I would stay in New York City. My plans are to address New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs and focus on that.
Mr. Mamdani, can I just jump in? Would you visit Israel as mayor?
I will be doing, as the mayor, I'll be standing up for Jewish New Yorkers, and I'll be meeting them wherever they are across the 5 boroughs, whether that's in their synagogues and temples or at their homes or at the subway platform, because ultimately we need to focus on delivering on their concerns.
And just yes or no, do you believe in a Jewish state of Israel?
I believe Israel has a right to exist.
As a Jewish state?
As a state with equal rights.
Now, this was considered very controversial when he said it, and I think the result are
Technically no, but kind of yes. I don't know how up on Israel-Palestine he is, but technically when you say, I want the state of Israel to exist as a state with equal rights, that's usually a dog whistle for...
two-state solution?
No, that's a one-state solution with an Arab majority. But yeah, but I don't think any of the people that were on the stage even realized that that's what that is supposed to mean. It was a fine enough answer. The reality is he's the fucking mayor of New York City. Who the fuck cares? He's not doing foreign policy. It's
at this point that he didn't win in spite of his position there. He won in part because of it, including if you listen to Andrew Cuomo's numbers, he won a majority of Jewish voters inside of New York City. And so what I'm curious for your view on is, while, I would love to debate you on your healthcare policy, I think you need Medicare for all, you think public option, your housing policy, etc. I'm just being really real with you.
I want to talk about Israel.
I don't really hear what you say if you are still supporting a genocide in Gaza. And that's for me, I'm speaking for myself, but I know there are millions of other people who feel the same.
Is she a leftist or
populist? Populist.
Just a slapper.
Yeah.
Okay.
This rural threshold. And what it indicates to people, and I think part of why Zoran won so many people in New York City, young people in particular, but Jewish New Yorkers, people across the board, is because it was a sign of, number one, okay, you're focused on New York City first and foremost. Number two, you're willing to compete on an issue that is really difficult for you, where you're overtly smeared as an anti-Semite.
Good for
and number
him.
three, there's no entrenched interest that's going to control you. You have a spine, you have principles, you're willing to stand up for something. And so I'm curious for your reflections on that because of your voting record and where you stood on this conflict.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the proudest moments that I had in my last election, where I just won on the same ballot as Donald Trump, was that I won a majority of Jewish voters in Michigan. We have a large Jewish population, and I won Dearborn Heights, and Hamtramck, the 3 Muslim-dominated cities. Trump won 2 out of the 3. So I think the thing that I would push back on is the voters. They voters vote with their feet, right? We have a moment in an election where they get to decide, and there was no issue that was more difficult for me in this last, I would say, 6 years, but certainly in this last election, other than this issue.
Remember, Michigan, largest Arab population, I think, in the United States, right? Dearborn is obviously a hot topic, right? So this is the singular, most contentious issue that she has to navigate, and this is what they decide we're going to fucking
because we're going to fight you on Israel
the fuck out of
when
her,
all of your constituents are like,
It's personal. I'm a Middle East analyst by training, and so what I tried to do, and why I think I managed to win both those communities, is call balls and strikes, literally up to this week on what's going on.
So let's talk a little bit more about that.
But I think it's important, right? If you're going to push on me, then I think there's one of us that's had an election, had to appeal to my voters and win, and so it doesn't surprise me at all that Mr. Mamdani won. Or actually, I didn't know his name. I didn't know much about him until he won, but because I think this issue is motivating people in a very visceral and personal way. Yeah, but it's not the only issue that my voters in Michigan care about. And the online world is extremely focused on this, but that doesn't always represent the majority. And I think if I can push back, like we're out on the road every day in Michigan when I'm there. In some communities, that issue is the number one issue, 100%. And I mean, up till this morning, right?
Like she's giving the best answer she really can. Like, to try to take into account that there are people online that feel strongly about this without totally discounting their opinion, but then pointing out that she did win all of these Muslim majority areas, and like she's negative.
She won Israeli areas too. Yeah.
Whoa, you mean Jewish? Whoa,
Sorry.
whoa,
Jewish.
whoa.
Because she said Israeli.
We're working on.
No,
I go
she said you're
outside the
wrong.
Detroit area. It's not in the top 40.
But Senator, it's not just a political issue; it's also a moral issue. So I'm trying.
Oh my God.
To get to. So let's talk about those, calling the balls and strikes, if you will. So first of all, do you accept that Israel has a policy of enforced famine and starvation in the Gaza Strip?
Like, back to my notes on like the difference between like a hostile conversation. Like, this isn't a friendly conversation with differences being pointed out. This isn't even an adversarial conversation. This is like a hostile conversation, right?
This is about as bad as you get.
This is like, yeah, to dig.
She's trying to move on from the topic, and this lady.
We're not even move on. Like, she gave a decent answer, and now she wants to ground it out in like a very specific. Like, I need your fucking I need your actual stance on this specific thing that Israel does. It's like Jesus.
If you will. So first of all, do you accept that Israel has a policy of enforced famine and starvation in the Gaza Strip?
I think I literally put my name on a letter yesterday or last night that says like a policy of starvation. People are starting to starve, and in general, I served in places like Ramadi and Fallujah. I watched in 2004 and 2005 Al-Qaeda terrorists drag American citizens behind a vehicle until they died, right? Like Corbin and string them up like a lynching. Okay. We still had a responsibility to get aid into Fallujah, despite the fact that we were fighting Al-Qaeda cells in Fallujah, and I have been clear about that.
So this is a crime against humanity. Forced starvation is a crime against humanity.
The occupying power has a responsibility to get aid into the war zone. Period.
So
by the law of war.
So in addition, do you accept that the Israeli plan, as reported by Haaretz, as discussed openly by ministers like Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, as backed by the President of the United States, is forced ethnic cleansing?
I think we have, as recently as yesterday, the Prime Minister of Israel talking about forced migration into certain areas and then potentially out of the country. That is not legal. That is not on any international standard since World War II, and I've been clear about that. So I would ask for a little bit of an open mind.
Well, what I would ask is, listen, I'm a YouTuber, I have my words, that's all I have, but you're a United States Senator. Like you're not the president, but you have power. So what are you going to do? Because so far what we've seen, you voted for some of the aid that's been used to massacre children and innocents. You have backed Israel, as far as I can tell, from your voting record at almost every turn. You voted for a definition of anti-Semitism that would codify anti-Zionism as anti-Semitism. You voted as a member of the House to sanction the ICC for indicting Benjamin Netanyahu, who you just admitted is a war criminal, by your own words. So are you going to join Senator Angus King, Senator Bernie Sanders in saying no more aid to this country that is committing war crimes against innocent civilians? I think the first thing, if you're asking about what to do with power, and I would offer that right now Democrats own nothing in Washington. So you're a United States Senator. You're saying in terms of who?
No, not really.
What can she do?
Nothing. Morally grandstand until you lose your election, which is what all these people want everybody to do. Yeah.
Runs our foreign policy. I just think it's interesting, right? That there was
also, when they talk about like voting for weapons to murder children, the way that because there's never a position that you could actually have, there's never a position you can actually have that's good enough for these people. All the people that voted for any type of defensive weapons for Israel, all of the pro-Pali sloppers, they all say that counts as offensive weapons because if you vote for defensive weapons, now they can save money on defensive weapons, and now they can invest more on offensive weapons. So any aid whatsoever, they consider basically supporting a genocide. Yeah.
On protests when Democrats were in charge.
There was a protest in Manhattan yesterday.
Okay. I think it's fair to say, just to be honest, that back and forth, like the number of protests that go on now versus before.
Well, they were part of your political coalition.
Well, that's
True, what she just said. Notice how none of you fucking sloppers are protesting the Republican government. Even last week, the protests were against fucking Schumer and Jeffries. It's crazy. And she's super correct to point that out.
That's fair. Obviously, I'm here. I was very upset with the Biden administration policy. And as you can tell, I'm very upset with the Trump administration policy. So let's deal not in strawman, but
in terms of the tools I have, the tools that we have in general. To me, the most important thing is a pressurized campaign to get aid into people who are starving. That to me is the number one, because that's the one is urgent and today. And that,
but will you cut off aid to Israel so long as they're committing crimes against humanity?
There is a difference between a weapon to protect a country from incoming missiles versus other type. Offensive and defensive weapons are different.
So would you support offensive weapons ban? Like, would you stop any offensive aid to Israel?
That certainly, to me, would be a place to look. But I'm not going to cut off a blanket next sale on a defensive weapon.
I also reject that because, for example, if Senator Slotkin, if you were asked to support defensive weapons for Iran, defensive weapons for Russia, you wouldn't back
that. Well, Iran and Russia are our enemies. So, I mean, like, yeah, we probably wouldn't support that.
No, but Iran, but
they're defensive. They're just protecting civilians, right? Why would it different?
But because Israel being shot at. I mean,
so is Ukraine shooting at Russia right now?
I'm sorry, this is the difference between allies, partners, and adversaries.
Why is it an ally then? What are they doing right now that makes it an ally?
I think allied relationships, just like Lithuania right now, like an allied relationship or a partner relationship is a long-standing relationship of information sharing and diplomacy. And that is, to me, it's not a like, every day we decide Lithuania is our ally or not. We're allied or not. And sometimes we have big breaks with allies, right? Sometimes we have difficult moments with allies. Sometimes it goes the wrong way with allies. But an allied relationship is a long-term relationship.
It's hard for me to understand why we should ally. Like, I'm sure you believe in, or claim to believe in liberal human rights. Why would we ally with a nation that is committing a genocide live streaming?
So can I ask literally, like this, I think about this from the mirror image way, because I do not support the things that Donald Trump is doing, right? But I'm American. So I want other countries to look at America and be like, we can't stand Donald Trump, so we're going to end any long-standing relationship we have with the American people. We're going to cut off any support we give them on information sharing or intelligence sharing. Like, we are not just our elected leaders, and I think that's the thing that's been lost.
So B'Tselem and another Israeli human rights organization joined the global consensus, Amnesty International, some 800 scholars, there's a piece from an Israeli scholar in the New York Times, in saying this is a genocide. Do you accept? Even Marjorie Taylor Greene yesterday came out and said,
yes or no?
Do you accept that? And if you do, what responsibility does the United States senator have? For this is a nation that we send every year billions of dollars to aid that you have voted for and supported. Like, what responsibility does the United States senator have to prevent genocide and to stop genocide that we see ongoing?
We have a responsibility up till today to ensure that food is getting in.
Is it a genocide?
Don't starve. I don't know that I'd use that term. It is using
it
is violating the law of war.
Why don't you use the term now?
Because I think it's, to me, do I think it's ethnic cleansing, which is what I think of as genocide. I don't know if it meets that definition.
Didn't you say earlier that it was ethnic cleansing, so that they wanted to force? I mean, this is open from Israel.
These people are crazy.
National security. They come out and they're like, we don't need shells. We need shells, not food. And we need to encourage migration.
You're not going to get me to support what the Israeli government is saying right now. I think the point I was trying to make is it's not just.
It doesn't matter if you support it or not. What matters is you got to use the right words and the right vernacular and the right like cool, hip, trendy things. Like that's the only thing that matters.
Say XYZ, yeah.
Yeah, so
I don't think I've seen a harder interview.
Yeah, it's like this is crazy.
Nuts.
Yeah.
All right, so back to, is this a genocide? Yes or no?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
About like we have relationships with nations over time, regardless of who their leaders are. We have really tough moments. We have easier moments, but that doesn't. So I'm not willing to say that like I hate everything ever.
Sure, but so even if you accept that they're committing genocide, you still wouldn't cut off their aid.
I think that defensive aid and offensive aid are different things, and I think at this point,
So
what
it's
they're
not
doing every
Germany.
single day is
Nazi Germany said we want defensive aid. I mean, it's just you have to see
We were
where
allies
all
with
weapons
Nazi
are being shipped.
Germany.
No, they're not using that because the weapons that they're using right now, I mean, to be honest, if you look at what's happening on the ground, the military part of this conflict is, for the most part, over. What they are doing every single day is around aid. They are hurting people around
over 1,000 people who are starving people. They're trying to get aid.
That is not that's not high intensity bombs. That's not the weapons that we were talking about 2 years ago. It's just not. I'm sorry. Every single day, the military reports that I read, they are traditional. Like, this is a military that has a bad strategy. It is not the bombs that we were seeing 2 years ago.
It's not a military that has a bad strategy. The strategy is forced starvation.
That is not
that's their strategy, and they're accomplishing it very effectively with the full backing of the United States government, including sadly Democrats. And so a couple more questions. I know you have to run. I'm curious why you condemned Rashida Tlaib for using the rally chant from the river to the sea, something she said for her evokes equal rights, and you have not condemned Randy Fine, who said that Gazans should quote starve away, who floated that the Gaza Strip should be nuked, who called Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib and Soran as well, called them Muslim terrorists. Where is the concern over condemning?
I have no problem condemning Randy Fine, who I don't know. I don't know who that person is. I have no problem condemning someone who talks like that.
Senator, we have to ask you last question because your staff is telling us. Do you think APAC should register as a foreign body?
Yeah, exactly. We need to get out of here.
I don't know the answer to that. I think that I know plenty of people who think they should. I don't.
Not a cop-out answer, don't you think?
I mean, I literally, I just guess I have to look at the definition. I certainly have had my tough moments with that organization. And
so you stop accepting their funding?
You gotta get your facts straight. I have not been endorsed by APAC. I'm sorry. I was the first Jew elected to the Senate that was not endorsed by any Jewish group. APAC, J Street.
You've been the recipient of their funds.
In 2018, when I first ran, people who were members, yes, but I've not been endorsed since then. And I just gotta be honest. Like, I think that this is where facts really matter. I've had very, very difficult conversations with my colleagues in that organization, and made a choice back in 2021. So that was the first time I was up for re-election. So I understand that there's a sort of, like, again, cornered position, but to me, like, I call balls and strikes as someone who served in the
I have one more question I have to ask you. We do the show. I really do my best to try to uphold, basic human rights, Palestinian humanity, oppose the killing of innocent civilians wherever that happens. And I have to tell you, I feel really guilty that I'm not doing enough. I think all the time about, I'm a mom, I think all the time about those moms who can't feed their babies. Those babies are starving to death. And I just want to know, you're a United States Senator, you did vote for some of the bombs that were dropped on refugee camps. The kids have been sniped in the head. Firebombed. People set on fire. The entire Gaza Strip turned into rubble. And now we're seeing these emaciated bodies of babies starving to death every day. And does it eat you up? Does it eat you up? Do you think, what more can I do? Do you regret any of your votes? You regret any of your votes this morning. A group of Jewish rabbis and Muslim community leaders came together with a proposal that we are working on just getting, if we can't get other aid in, at least get baby formula and nutritional supplements for children. Let that be kind of a...
She doesn't give a fuck. The tears are performative. She doesn't give a fuck about the people. You just have to have the right position. She doesn't care about the fucking aid or starvation. You just have to have the right... It's got to be the most purity tested position. That's the only thing that fucking matters.
Green light, never has a problem. No one's trying to eat baby formula other than a baby, right? That is the proposal that I've been working on all night and this morning. So in terms of what we're trying to do, there's not a moment that goes by that this isn't something that I'm working on and something that my own community, not online, but my own community has practical things that they want to do. They're willing to raise the money. They're willing to buy the formula. They're willing to do whatever we need to do to get it shipped in. That's how I spend my time.
But you're not willing to cut off aid, right?
To me, that to me is the most effective thing that I can do today.
This is not a question. Your staff is telling us you absolutely have to go. So we appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you guys so much for watching.
Okay, so that's the interview. This is
These people are never getting another interview.
Yeah, it was a crazy hostile interview. But also, I like the fact that it perfectly demonstrated my complaint the entire time about what it's like to be a liberal and then what it's like to be on the right and go to do interviews. People are like, oh, why didn't we go on Joe Rogan? Why didn't we do this? And in the past, you can even find a year plus ago, because we saying, well, the problem is you're a liberal, you go on these shows. Not only are you going to have an adversarial interview with a conservative, you're going to be getting shit on by all the other conservatives, and then the left's going to be attacking you too, right? And then that's exactly basically what happened here. What was the point of even going on? This is supposed to be either a both sides show or whatever. Most of the questions came from Crystal. This was a adversarial hostile interview. It was about as hostile as it could possibly be. One
more question. What does populist actually mean? I assume it's just people who go over popular interviews.
No.
So popular topics.
No. So populism is the idea that it's a very broad term, but basically it's the idea that there is some kind of broad, unseeable enemy, and some person is going to deliver you from that broad, unseeable enemy. So people are usually blaming people that talk a lot about the elites, the elite class, the Jews, the billionaires, and that I'm and it's got to be it's also usually anti-establishment. The establishment has allowed these people to run amok and they failed you, and so we're going to fight against the establishment. We're going to fight against the billionaires, the donor class, the political elites, the Epstein class. It's all of these things.
Okay, so this is what Trump kind of ran on.
Yes, 100%.
We would say populism.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the issue with populism,
we're going to fight XYZ.
Yeah, I'm the person who's going to do it. Yeah. The issue with populism is oftentimes one, it doesn't properly analyze the problems almost ever. But the issue from that stems naturally from that is that two, they don't usually offer good solutions to anything either. So because populists don't identify the correct problems, they come in offering super broad solutions that aren't even possible to implement, and even if they were, they wouldn't solve anything. So it always fails apart. Populist regimes never work out because they're always overpromising, underdelivering, and then making people just ass pain as fuck about literally everything. It's like the lowest form of political theater, ideology, internet politics, whatever. It existed before the internet, but it's so...
Okay, so it's pretty much we have an enemy and we have to go after them. They're the reason for all of our issues, and we need to win, and we're going to win. Okay. Yeah. And Bernie, you would say Bernie was a populist as well because he reversed not the Jews or whatever, but the business class.
Sure. Although Bernie was definitely a populist. He did a bit better though than the average populist because he usually had actionable. I would say that Bernie. If I was going to be super I would say that Bernie used populist rhetoric, but I think in policy practice, I don't know if I would say that Bernie is the same type of populist because he had a lot of experience obviously in the Senate. He had specific policy goals and recommendations that weren't just demonizing the fuck out of everybody that was in the elite class and everything else. Although there was a lot of the rhetoric he used, but at least he had actionable policies to talk about. But...
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
I felt like she was remarkably composed. There was really only one moment where she let the guard down literally for a half second where she gave Crystal kind of a sideways glance, literally a sideways glance. But they were pressing her and asking her questions. And she was answering their questions. And then basically every time she started to answer their questions, they would cut her off, not address what she had just said, and then deflect to some other question. And some of the questions that they were asking her, I'm sorry, were fucking ridiculous. Like this gotcha question that Crystal asked.
Nice. Yeah, I knew that was going to get
why wouldn't you also support
shut down? I knew it after the way that other
5 immediate non-starters
rulings had
why we would never give Iran and
this.
Russia The
Right,
Iron
but you're
Dome.
attacking.
Is the question unfair? Wait, is the question unfair, or do you just disagree
The
with
question is
with her answer?
ridiculous.
Wait, in
Question's
virtue of what is it?
Iran
ridiculous?
and Russia
You tell me,
literally
piece.
supply fucking terrorist organizations that are
Yeah, it's just
anti-US
totally
interests.
different in kind. It's a weird.
They would just give it to them. Yeah, it's fucking retarded.
It's a very weird gotcha question.
Yeah.
Can you
Well,
think of
I
any
haven't-
reason why we wouldn't give Iran and Russia the Iron Dome?
100%. But are you just saying that the question is unfair because it's obvious what the answer is, and so you shouldn't ask?
I didn't say.
Oh,
I said it's
I thought you said it was
question.
unfair.
I said it's a silly question. It's a really profoundly
I
silly
think the way
question.
she answered the silly question was not nearly so optically good as she could have. Like it looked like she's on the back foot, where the answer should be a simple like, "Hey, we have
Also, just God, fuck, this is such a good interview. Actually, this whole thing is gonna be really good. The reason why the entire media apparatus right now is obsessed with all of these feel-good interviews, where all you do is you yes and each other, you never push each other, you never challenge each other ever, is because you always look good in these shows. Every single fucking time, you always look good. You always look good. And you're seeing right now, well, if you do an adversarial conversation, of which I do think people should do more of, I think political people should always be held to the standard of doing this, and people that comment on politics especially should be held to the standard of doing this. But this is why people don't, because that was an incredibly hostile interview. It was incredibly challenging. Keep in mind that she has everything staked against somebody who has nothing at stake. She's a U.S. senator that's going to be fighting for re-election in a district of many types of people, and Crystal Ball is just a sloppy list who can say whatever retarded shit she wants to her program with absolutely zero pushback at all, because who the fuck cares, right? And now you've got these people who are digging through. Did Slotkin give the optically correct answer when she was being grilled on whether or not we should give defensive aid to enemies of the United States of America? Like, Jesus fucking Christ! Like, what a crazy thing to be evaluated on. Like, people like Republicans could just never put themselves in these positions, and people on the far left will never put themselves. Yeah, neither people on the far left. They will never have this type of conversation about like Hassan or about any like super far left person because they never put themselves in these positions. They won't go on adversarial platforms ever.
And to be fair, it didn't seem like the Slotkin lady knew that she was going on a quote like a very adversarial platform either.
Yeah, I don't know what her staffers told her or what information she had, but I definitely don't think that she was expecting it to be like that. Would be my guess. Yeah.
allies and adversaries. And I'm just saying, I'm not so confident that she could perform well in a presidential.
So is that a layup question then, Hutch, if it's so obvious?
It's a layup if you're not a politician and you don't need to worry about being composed, because you.
Oh, holy shit! Me and Hutch are fucking mind melded, dude.
Would just look at Crystal with a silly face and be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" But she had to like pause, compose herself, and then explain really basic concepts like adversaries versus allies. Like we would never.
Well, I think Crystal's question is sort of questioning that Israel should be an ally of America.
There's a better way.
Then ask that question. Just get to that question.
Get that point, but there's a better way to do that.
Yeah.
Than.
Yes, I need a mind meld soundboard effect.
And they eventually did get to that question. And they started to kind of dive into what that is. But they're asking questions like, what do we get out of a relationship with Israel? Which is like, I mean, they cover geopolitics for a living. They should understand that like, you can have a moral opposition to our like being allied with Israel. I'm fine with questioning.
Wait, so what's wrong with the question then? If it's like easy to answer, and it's like, well, Israel's our ally. And
he didn't say it was easy to answer. He said it was easy to answer if you have nothing at stake. I don't know why he only hears like half the question sometimes, or he's like selectively ignoring things.
Could be our ally. What's wrong? Why is it like a gotcha question? Why is the question wrong if there's just a very easy answer to it? Is it because Democrats shouldn't be questioned on Israel?
Like, and that's crazy to obtusely jump to such an insane. Like, do you think that that's what Hutch is going to say? Like, yes, I think that Democrats should never answer questions on Israel. Jesus.
Oh, that's not what I'm saying. You can question her on Israel, but when you ask, why would you, like, if it's about protecting civilians, why not give it to Iran? Well, like, if this is a highly top secret classified weapon system, and we give it to Iran, they could theoretically repurpose it and make it redundant. It's just like that is just like immediately that's where your mind should go.
But
and then the Iron Dome doesn't work for anyone. So like, why would we ever consider? Like, if you want to make the point that we should,
I think there's better answers to this, but it's okay, I guess.
We should question our relationship with Israel. That's fine. But
I'm just saying, like, why is it a gotcha question if it's like a very, very simple, easy answer and obvious? Like, what's wrong with the question?
Like, imagine if she were to ask the question. Okay, so just curious. You said a lot of things about laws in the United States, and I've noticed that you claim to care about children. Do you really think there's a difference between a child who's 17 years and 364 days and 18 years old? Do you think there's a like? And it's like, well, shouldn't that be a layup question? And it's like, Jesus Christ! Like, what the fuck? What the fuck kind of question is that? Holy shit! Like, how do you like? It's such a stupid thing. It's like, well, if it's an easy question to answer, shouldn't it be like Jesus?
I don't think it was simple or obvious to like Crystal. I think she legitimately thought that it was a slam dunk gotcha question.
Yes, it was. That is
Slotkin
obviously
couldn't like figure her way out of. But Slotkin like literally.
Wait, can I go on the rift right now? I should be able to, right?
Paused, composed herself, and said, "We have allies, we have adversaries, and we have strategic partners." And she had to like explain this dynamic, which is just really this is like really basic level geopolitical stuff.
Well, if it's really basic, why is it a problem? Like if someone asks me a really basic question, like look at Pete Buttigieg, right? Pete Buttigieg gets a really basic fucking question about inflation, or is like
hold on, let me check real quick. I just want to say something about it. Pete is not currently holding any office right now, is he? Did he run again for
Pisco? No, he's not.
What?
He's not holding any office.
Did you say Pisco?
Mm-hmm.
No, I said Pete
Okay,
Buttigieg.
well, I'm saying Pisco isn't a problem.
True. Pisco's not true. Is Pete planning on running again for like mayor or something? I don't know. Pete's not a currently elected official. Pete has a ton of flexibility to go around and do a ton of these podcasts and be on a ton of adversarial platforms and answer questions with a whole host of like flexible strategies that are not really available to a sitting U.S. senator. It's a totally different thing.
Like look at Pete Buttigieg, right? Pete Buttigieg gets a really basic fucking question about inflation, or is like with this guy on this whatever. I don't even know what news I think it was, and he makes a really simple set of like parameters.
Like at that point in time, who is Pete's constituency, right? It's like the people who are watching the program. That's his audience. Whereas Slotkin has to answer questions trying to appeal to the audience of Breaking Points while also trying to appeal like broadly to the U.S. left Democratic Party, kind of, while also appealing to the constituents back in Michigan, in her home state, and then make sure that she's not like closing off future potential avenues for work or talking to future constituents, whatever. Like, it's just, there's a lot more of a calculation going on than Pete, who I guess maybe is running in 2028. It's a totally different type of mental math that's going on per question here.
Make the other guy look like a fucking idiot. I'm just like asking, like, why is that a problem? If it's such a loaded question or a question that's like requires just a basic distillation of shit, why can't she use it to stunt on Crystal?
Yeah, and Hutch, really quick, because I want to give an example of what people are talking about. Like, have you seen like Bernie Sanders on like Sacha Baron Cohen's like Who Is America?
It's been a while. It's been a while. That show was crazy.
Yeah, he's playing this like obese like Southern dipshit, and he's like, why don't we put the 99% and put him in the 1%? And Bernie's like, but that's not how math works. Like, you know, he doesn't pause. Like, optically, this looks not bad for Bernie. Like, he tries to make Bernie look stupid, where he's like, you're like essentially you're fucking stupid without saying it. And Slotkin, I think, tried to do that, but like what I'm saying is, rhetorically and optically, I don't think her answer looked good, even if she had the right idea. And that's
I think you're
What was she supposed to say? What did they not like about the answer? I don't know.
Victim to this. Sorry,
What are you supposed to say when somebody's like, well, why don't we give weapons to Iran and Russia?
I just wanted to say that personally, I want both teams to lose. So like, I think that number one, going on breaking points is kind of like a Guantanamo Bay torture tactic, like that you can use against anyone. And so seeing our political class have to deal with that program. I mean, watching them interview Kat was like watching like two monkeys trying to like build a car. It was an impossible. It was just a complete fucking mess. I can't watch breaking points with
This
that
is
one.
Kat Abugazela out of Illinois, who ran for the 9th district, right?
Yeah, out of Illinois. It's just like the questions they asked, or when I hear like Crystal just make shit up about wars. Like it's like she's just like winging it. Like when we gave Ukraine all the jets, we never gave Ukraine jets. That's why they invaded Kurds, just like random stuff. So I don't like them, but also I do want the political class to be put in front of bad shows and bad programs to deal with bad questions. If you're going to run for president of the United States, you're going to be in a room eventually where you're going to have some Fox News.
Just to be clear, that's not true though. Right now, it's just not true. Donald Trump. What were the tough rooms that Donald Trump was in when he was running for president? Was there a single one for 2024? A single tough room? A single tough interview? Was there
you
one?
Could argue the debate, but that's like it. Like, there's no interview. I don't think
Oh,
so.
true. I guess he did. He did do a debate with Kamala. Like anything else? He skipped his debates, by the way, with the other Republicans. He skipped the ones. He didn't do any with DeSantis or with Nikki Haley.
He did, didn't he? I thought he did a Nikki Haley debate.
No.
I'm pretty sure he did.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
Oh, they never
No,
did.
no, which is funny because these are the guys who always say
wow.
like, Democrats didn't even have a real primary. You guys didn't have a real primary. And it's like, Donald Trump literally skipped all of your debates. You guys didn't even really have a primary, but
maybe I'm just thinking of the primary that they had and he just wasn't there.
Yeah, it's just cringe. And he skipped a second debate with Kamala. Yeah. You just cringe.
Knuckle dragger come in and say like, if you support women, why don't you want to deport the migrant rapists? Like you're gonna get that type of stuff. And so I do think
my argument is that she did. She answered the question just fine. Like she didn't lose her shit. She didn't get triggered. She wasn't.
What's the problem?
She wasn't treating it like Pisco. What are you doing with me right now? Do you agree that that was a stupid question or not?
I'm not sure. Wait. It's a stupid question. If she's trying to get at,
ask why we don't give Iran the
Holy shit! Whoa! I just got fucking blown the fuck away. True. Oh my god. We just got the. Hold on. Kick Chat just had the truest fucking message that of all of 2026.
What'd they say?
Oh my god. Compare the way that Pisco reacted to people saying that AOC kind of flubbed her answer when she was at that world whatever thing answering questions about global security, and she flubbed an answer on, I don't remember what it was. It was when she shouldn't have flubbed, but I don't think it was that big a deal. But when Hutch even suggested that her answer's not perfect here, Pisco lost his fucking mind. He was like, he saw blood. He went crazy. Why the fuck does she know every fucking thing about Taiwan? He fucking lost it. It was crazy. I was like, there's no way this is as bad as the Starbucks face. I'm like, that's just it. Yeah, Jesus. Okay.
Fucking the Iron Dome.
The reason why I don't think it's a stupid question, I'm going to explain why, is because it's clear that what she's really getting at is questioning the notion that Iran is an ally and that they should be treated as an enemy. And so I don't really feel like there could be like a very easy, what did I say? Iran? Israel. My bad. Israel.
Hello.
Hey, can you hear me?
We're only like 10 minutes through this, so what's up?
I'll be quick. Okay, first, those little smiley faces you put after every message are the most passive aggressive thing I've ever seen.
It's not passive aggressive. It's to show you that I'm not mad.
If you do one more, I'm literally watching you on stream. I know you're not smiling, so I know.
Well, I'm digitally smiling. Do you think when I type LMAO, do you think I'm actually laughing my ass off every time?
You have to be, otherwise you're disingenuous and you're a liar. And I'm gonna start self-harming if you keep doing it.
Jesus Christ.
Okay, real quick.
Yeah, what's up?
I'm gonna share just like to be clear. I don't necessarily agree with Pisco on this, but if you go, do you have the interview open? I can screen share if you don't.
No, but we literally just rewatched it just to refresh our brains on it.
Okay, but like I want to refresh like a specific moment to like 10 seconds of it just to show like this is what's frustrating about this as someone who can say look at it and say look, if you agree or disagree with this person, I don't think this is good. And I just want to like exemplify that. But here, I'll share it. Let me know if you can see me.
Yep.
All right, so
Anti-Semitism. You voted as a member of the House.
to be clear, they're asking got you annoying fucking questions. I'm fully in acknowledgement of this, and I think Crystal and Sagar can be fucking, especially Sagar, are hacks. But
You sanction the ICC for indicting Benjamin Netanyahu, who you just admitted is a war criminal, by your own words. So are you going to join Senator Angus King, Senator Bernie Sanders in saying no more aid to this country that is committing war crimes against innocent civilians?
Okay, so what's the question? You think there are senators that have done this? Are you going to do it too? Right? Who cares if it's a gotcha? Like, I think, how would you answer this question? If you think
the reason why it's impossible to answer this question is because Crystal is a fucking idiot, unfortunately. But it's because what she's done is she's taken a moral good and she's put it behind a policy that she's led people to believe would effect that moral good, but it would probably do just the opposite. And then she's asking Slotkin to commit to the stupid policy that won't get the moral good done, while Slotkin is an actual senator and has actual policy positions at risk with actual constituents in an actual Congress.
wait.
So for instance, so like, the question is like, what do we do to help the Palestinians? And Crystal has posed the question as though if we just cut off all aid to Israel, that'll help the Palestinians. But that's just not true. It wouldn't, right? And she kind of, I believe in her answer, she basically speaks to this. She's like, I think the major war fighting is kind of done. It's not like Israel's there bombing every day now. Like the major thing now is to try to get aid to the Gaza Strip. I don't think cutting off defensive weapons or cutting off offensive weapons or anything else to Israel is going to do anything to facilitate more food going to the Palestinians. It's basically what she says.
She might say that at a different point. I don't think she says that right here, but I agree with you. And it's like, okay, if you gave that answer, I think that would look great. And what I think her answer is like a little dodgy and makes her look bad. Because if you just said, hey, like, I understand what you're doing. You're saying, why can't we hold this over their heads? Won't this stop the killing? My understanding is that not only will it not, but we can do different things right now that will directly help the Palestinian people. And I think you have a misunderstanding of the framing. I think that would be an amazing answer. I think that would make her look good.
Okay, we can listen to how she answers. Yeah, because I feel like
I think what she does here is like not optically great.
I think the first thing, if you're asking about what to do with power, and I would offer that right now Democrats own nothing in Washington. So don't play powerless with me. Not with me.
You're a United States senator. There are things you can do.
In terms
so like already, I acknowledge, obviously, Democrats are not fucking in power. We don't have Senate majority. We can't do like fucking Green Lantern theory. Sure. But that already seems, leading off with this seems a little dodgy to me. Like the answer you gave, the answer I tried to summarize.
Sure,
she
leads off with that. Sure, she does lead off with that because they're talking about legislations. Like, will you join Bernie Sanders? Like, I'm so sorry, but these were the force to vote people. Like, eat shit and die.
Oh, sure,
like this idea of virtue signaling on legislation that isn't even going to make it to the Senate floor, let alone die on the Senate floor, let alone get no support in the House, let alone be vetoed by the like, it's just such a stupid. Like, will you please support my legislation that's not ever going to fucking leave the fucking Twitter desk of fucking Bernie Sanders? It's such a boring.
So
I think it's okay to answer to start off.
Say that too.
Well,
she could say,
does
first of all,
by
I
saying,
don't think that will help. Right?
Well, no, because that's a weak answer. You would say, doesn't think it'll help. Doesn't think it'll help. How would the answer right here is Democrats don't have any power right now. They don't. They literally can't. Whatever Bernie Sanders. I guess you could have explained the legislative process more.
That's what I'm saying. Is like again, I'm not even disagreeing with any of what she is trying to say here. I think this looks bad. That was my whole thing of bringing this up on the show. Is like this looks like someone doing dodgy politician platitude stuff, and not like. And I'm gonna right after this, I'm gonna show you like 60 seconds of Bill Clinton on. Have you seen Bill Clinton talk to Chris Wallace on Fox like in the 90s?
No.
Okay, I'll show you this like right after, but like I'll keep it going a little bit.
Who runs our foreign policy? I just think it's interesting, right? That there was
like it's interesting, and it's like okay, like already this is like kind of the Gavin Newsom thing, where it's like please address the question.
Ton of protests when Democrats were in charge.
There was a protest in Manhattan yesterday.
And yeah, now she's talking about again very legitimate criticism. Where the fuck are all the Palestinian protesters protesting against Trump, protesting against the people in power?
I'm sorry, hold on. Caitlin was just crying that Slotkin or like Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer weren't quick enough to endorse in the primaries like a mayor for New York City, and she's going to take issue with the fact that Slotkin is rightfully pointing out that one, the Democrats were not given any power in Congress, and then two, there are still anti-Palestinian or anti-Israel protests going on, but they're still targeting Democrats, which was 7 months ago. It was true last week in New York City. I think it's a totally fair thing to point out.
No, I again, that's why it was super frustrating because people think I'm like disagreeing with Slotkin here. It's like, no, everything she's saying is right. I think this looks bad when you have a specific say, hey, why aren't you doing the thing that Bernie Sanders and Angus King are doing? And you and I can look at that and say, hey, this is why that's not helpful. This is why I think you have a poor context on it. This is the material things that we can be doing. And instead, it looks like she's trying to dodge it, deflect blame. Like I think this looks. Bad,
I guess you could say that, but like you understand that like this type of thought is why we live in the media environment we do now, where nobody on the right will go on adversarial platforms and nobody on the far left will go on adversarial platforms. Like, why would you ever subject yourself to this level of hardcore scrutiny when not giving the perfect answer to the most hostile interviewer possible is like putting you in a rough position because you like it's like this is an impossible.
Well, I'm not even saying like, oh, this is why I don't like Slotkin. This is like I don't think she can handle being on the national
stage. No one can handle this, though. What do you mean can run for president?
All right. Well, here, perfect transition. Can you see the Fox News tab right now?
Sure. But wait. When you say no one can handle this on the national stage, Trump wasn't in any of these spaces.
Okay.
He won the presidency, right? So it seems like you can run for president and win the presidency without going into super adversarial spaces. That seems to be the case, no?
Well, if she's going to go into these spaces, which she did, I don't know if she knew about this going ahead of time, she has to acknowledge that if you can't come out of this looking like you came out on top, I think that's going to be bad for your electoral chances versus
well, it won't.
Trump
No, what was bad for the electoral chances was going in that space. She shouldn't be talking to people like that ever. That because it's a loser.
Sure, yeah, the strategy is like just don't go on these fuckheads like shows, sure. But if you are, like Trump's thing is either I'm never going to do it, and if I do, I'm just going to deflect, and posture, and my base will eat it up. Like that's going to work. But I think you can go on these spaces. But if you have to be like what I think Bill Clinton does in like these sort of situations, I'm going to play this real quick.
Okay, before he says this, just so that I'm coping or whatever, right? So I don't know the year of this, okay? But one, Bill Clinton had a much better. Sure, well, the year is important because one, Bill Clinton staked a lot of his reputation on Israel-Palestine. It was a huge part of his administration. Remember, he like threw the whole last year into the Camp David stuff, trying to get a final peace agreement. There was the whole Clinton parameters that led to the top. He threw so much into this. He, I think, arguably did a lot to help the Good Friday Agreement or whatever for the Irish people. Like Bill Clinton has had a huge involvement in foreign politics, has a huge personal stake investment in Israel-Palestine, knew the situation a lot more, and might be by the time this interview is happening a lame duck president. So like,
this isn't even like about Israel-Palestine to be clear. This is just like this is Bill Clinton, an adversarial, like super fucking gotcha interview. And like, I think if you're going to be able to go on these shows and you can't do this, I don't think you should go on the shows, which I guess we agree on. And two, like, I think it's fair to say that this is just a better performance than Slotkin in general. And you can tell me to stop it.
Okay.
Talk about it.
But the question is, why didn't you do more, connect the dots, and put them out of business?
All right, let's
talk about Bin Laden
I'll answer all those things on merits, but first I want to talk about the context in which this arises.
I'm being asked this on the Fox network. ABC just had a right-wing conservative running their little pathway to 9/11, falsely claiming it was based on the 9/11 Commission report, with 3 things asserted against me directly contradicted by the 9/11 Commission report. And I think it's very interesting that all the conservative Republicans who now say I didn't do enough claim that I was too obsessed with bin Laden. All of President Bush's neocons
Stop for a
thought I was
second.
too obsessed with bin Laden.
There's no way that I can prove this. But one, okay, wait. So this sounds like this was after he was already out of office, right?
Yeah, this is post.
Sure. So there's a couple things going here. So one, we're on Fox News, so he knows this is an adversarial interview. So the tone can already be quite a bit different. Number one. Number two, I can't prove this, but I feel like if we were to hindsight this a different way, that you could give the exact same analysis to this that you would give. Because what did Slotkin say? That you didn't give the Democrats any power. What did Clinton say? Well, you guys lied about this thing here and you were being politically partisan. Like, I'm on Fox News, so this isn't fair. Like, I feel like somebody like you would argue the exact same thing, that he's crying and complaining too much.
On paper, they're very close. I think the problem is that he is able to say, all right, follow me here. Let's first go through this. Let's contextualize why you're asking me this question, what's wrong with the question, why this is unfair, and why you would never ask this of someone else. And I don't think Slotkin was able to do that. I think Slotkin kind of like, wait,
yeah, but there's also the different thing here in that Crystal Ball and all the lefties right now can hide behind the late genocide thing, right? Like, she can't ask that same question because Crystal's going to do more fake tears and be like, it's because it's a genocide. And now you're fucked. What are you going to say? You don't care about a genocide? Like, the virtue signal on this issue is so much ramped up that I don't know how you could possibly navigate this with the same level of, I guess, ferocity that Bill Clinton can navigate
Composure or ferocity. Well, you can, right?
I'm not running for office, and I don't hold office.
Yeah,
and it's
but the
super
point
contested area. So I can remember Dearborn, Michigan. There's a Senate race this year. She's fighting for her life on a swing state, right? She's in a way different position than I am. And also, if you want to compare to me, everybody calls me a fucking Nazi on Israel-Palestine. That I'm super pro IDF, pro genocide.
No, it's not about the position. It's about the fact that you're able to navigate these conversations without taking the virtue signal or the moral grandstanding being put on the back foot and look shaky. And I think Slotkin wasn't able to. And this was all in the context of, hey, Slotkin might run for president. And I'm like, I don't know. In this interview where she had some adversarial, questions, which she will have. She's going to have those on the path to presidency.
I understand. I understand what you're saying, and I can do that, and I can do it better than any Democratic politician in the United States because I'm not running for anything, and I'm not holding office. I have the flexibility to say whatever the fuck I want.
Yes. Exactly.
Well, but then it's different. You can't evaluate the optics there in the same way. Like,
well, the problem is, and it's not like I don't understand this. When you are in these positions and you have these constituencies to worry about, you have lobbying groups to worry about. It's like, who am I going to anger? What if I said the wrong thing? What if I'm clipped? Like, that is I don't think she's like a shaky, unconfident person, right? There's reasons why she looks like this, and I'm saying the politicians who are able to do that in such a way that doesn't sell as this like platitude generating inauthenticity are the ones who are going to excel if they are going to go in these spaces. Sure. And that's all I'm worried about.
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, but I would say that this particular issue, by design, it's impossible to do that on. You can't take a conversation from a far left person on this topic because you can never give enough on it. You'll always be called pro genocide or whatever, unless your position is literally the complete and total severing of ties from Israel in every single conceivable way, and possibly supporting sanctions and military action against them to remove that administration. Like, that's the position you have to take, which is so far out of step with even the average American's position. Even the average Democrat's position. So it's like, it's a loser.
Are always going to move. Yeah.
Okay.
But don't get me wrong. Last thing I'll say, and then I'll head out. But like, would you agree that if you went on there, and if Slotkin goes on there, they ask this question, and she says, "I think what you're suggesting is not going to materially help because X, Y, Z. What I'm trying to do right now is this. This is the best way, in my view, to get aid to the Palestinian people right now. Otherwise, everything else is immaterial because we don't have power. And if you disagree on that, then you're missing the forest for the trees." And then they go, genocide, boo-hoo, like, oh, you're just killing kids, you don't care. Does she not come out on top by clearly laying out why they're logically wrong and they just grandstand?
I guess I would have to think about it because I feel like that was basically her answer, and I feel like that's basically what Crystal Ball did. Is she basically explained, maybe a bit nicer, but that right now the major war fighting is stopped, that defensive weapons are the same as offensive weapons, so the biggest thing right now is getting aid to the Palestinians. And then Crystal started crying about dead children. I was like, don't you feel bad about voting for defensive weapons? And it's like, okay. So
the points are there. I think the connective tissue and the optics just don't look good for her. And I think, someone like you or anyone else who's able to like really boil this down in a concise and contextualized manner and show, hey, what you're doing right now is a gotcha. Let's recontextualize this, like the same way Bill Clinton does. If you can't do that, she shouldn't.
You say the same way Bill Clinton does. Bill Clinton couldn't have navigated this either, like that. The children are being headshot. What are you going to do about it? Bill Clinton wouldn't have had a good answer here. If he was a senator in a vulnerable state with an election coming up again, knowing that he's going to be attacked by the entire right and the entire far left, I don't think he would have had a better answer for this.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe it's different considering this is post his administration, but I feel even if I'm able to look through this, if you or I or Hutch or anyone watching this be like, I know what she means, this is ridiculous, this is lopsided. Nevertheless, voters are going to see this as inauthentic when they can look at someone who is able to give either bullshit populism answers to this, or deflect answers or grandstanding answers. And my worry is like, I don't think she has the rhetorical skills to handle like super adversarial things, even if they are gotcha. But that's what people running for president have to do. But
that's not true. Donald Trump didn't. So if people running for president,
if he doesn't go on the shows, if you just avoid him, which is like
I think something I'd be curious about. I guess I'm gotching you, I'm putting you on the spot. Can you think of a single person that's ever answered a question like this about Israel-Palestine satisfactorily on any of these far left shows?
I don't watch a lot of far left shows, so not off the top of my head. But hey, you give me some homework.
Sure. Okay, I'd be curious if anybody, because I feel like nobody. Because I remember even watching Kamala Harris when Kamala was like, "We need to call for a full and total ceasefire right now," and Hassan was like,
"Oh, he doesn't mean it." Yeah.
Or they're like, "Oh, this isn't anything. Like, it doesn't matter. It's just a ceasefire." Right? I don't know.
Exactly the same as Trump, from what I understand.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, thanks. I'll send you a clip if we can find one. All right. Thanks. Bye.
Slotkin isn't up for election this year. Oh, never mind. I thought she was running again this year. My bad. I guess did she say she got in 2018? So she'd be up again in 2032. Oh, she won in 2024. 2030. Then okay.
But that's what the question is getting at.
Wait, Pisco, I think you're also missing a point here, which is this is in the context of AOC saying we need to sanction Israel, but voting yes on Iron Dome funding because she says, hey, this is strictly defensive.
She didn't. No, she didn't vote yes.
Well,
she,
or abstained or whatever. The point is she's making a distinction here between the Iron Dome and every other weapons funding. And so it's like, hey, if you're making a distinction, or if some people on the left make this distinction because they say this is going to prevent civilian deaths and this isn't going to be used to kill anyone, then why not send this as humanitarian aid to other countries that are getting bombed? That's where they're getting at. And I understand.
Now there could be responses to that. No. I absolutely understand that, and you can have a bunch of reasons why the answer to it should be clear. But that doesn't mean that the question itself is stupid. If you're just trying to elicit, well, it's not enough to say something's defensive, right? There are other factors to consider, such as whether it's in America's strategic interest to be allied with such a country, and that will certainly turn. That will. I mean, I am, for example, in favor of cutting off all funding for Israel at this point, given how they're conducting themselves in this Iran war, to say nothing of Gaza. And so I don't think it's like a.
Wait, what? Or does he mean like because they dragged us into the Iran war, or does he just mean because of what they've done in the Iran war? I don't know. Okay, I don't know. Why even try to comprehend far left foreign policy, whatever.
Fucking, it's so bad faith of a question. I think if it's a stupid question, she should be able to answer. You said that she answered it fine. What's the problem?
The problem, I think, is that what's happening right now is the Democratic Party, like the politicians, the actual elected politicians, they all saw the same kind of like postmortems of 2024. They all saw a resounding assessment that they ignored the alternative media space. And obviously, like, we're seeing a ton more Democrats going to these spaces. But what's happening is I think that their staffers are scheduling them for interviews with people, and they're just now finding out just how rabidly like anti-democratic party a lot of these spaces are.
True.
And so now it's creating these awkward situations like what you had with Breaking Points and Slotkin. The problem is that she was going for like this gotcha question. I mean, there was like a couple other parts in the interview where she basically asked her like, how do you sleep at night?
After the
like, how do you sleep at night with like a clear conscience? Or like she said at one point, you care about like human rights, or you say you care about human rights. I mean, it was like she was skewering her.
Yeah.
And then just today or yesterday on Breaking Points, they posted a video where they were reacting to Alyssa Slotkin having a town hall, and then somebody asked her like, hey, so you took $4.2 million from the pro-Israel lobby. Like, what do you have to say about that? That number came from AIPAC Tracker, and I don't know if you guys heard about all that controversy. Did you guys hear about that?
Yeah, like their methodology seems like totally fucked.
Their methodology is crazy. Like if it's an individual donor who at any point has donated to a pro-Israel lobby, they were counting that in AIPAC Tracker. And they were not applying that same standard to their preferred candidate. So it is insane. And Crystal Ball was like promoting this kind of attack on Slotkin on her program. Like, to me,
that kind of attack, or AIPAC Tracker specifically, because I did see Ryan Grimm question the methodology of
But she was legitimizing the question, and she was saying, well, she needs to just have better answers for these like legit questions. It wasn't a legit question.
Wait, in what sense was it not a legit question? I'm asking you, why is it not legit?
I don't know if you. All right, sorry, I'm gonna take a breath. I'm losing composure a little bit.
He's being so bad. Like, this is clearly like Crystal and Sagar coming in with this like very anti-democratic party messaging Israel-Palestine question that was like in what would otherwise be probably not like a super adversarial environment. Like, Pete's going on with a Republican and he's expecting some sort of attacks, but like they're like all of a sudden like, hey, bam, here's like a weird framing of this specific issue, and why don't you have a perfect answer for this right away? It's like, I don't know if you want to call it clip.
Well, they got the wrong read on Breaking Points then, right? Like, if they want to get a hand job, they come on Live and Learn. But if they want to have a fucking reporter ask them questions, they go on Breaking Points.
Mon Bailey.
It wasn't just a reporter asking questions though. It was like the most aggressively adversarial type of interview. Anything we were asking, like we were grilling people on follow-ups, is like crazy aggressive.
No.
Nobody's asking.
I was asking if that was such a position. I thought you do. Is that what you're getting at? Or?
Nobody's asking anybody to give politicians hand jobs, but maybe don't like legitimize questions where the underlying premise is entirely false and malicious. Maybe don't.
I'm not getting that hand job later.
Maybe don't do that. That's what she did. That's what football did.
When you give us the $25, we're meeting you on the front.
I'll take a hand job.
We're gonna lube up that trench, right?
I'm a big like hand jobs are underrated guy.
Wait, we haven't talked about Viktor Orban.
Oh, yeah.
That's huge. Dylan is here. Yeah.
Sure, I talked about Orban. I also have. I did have a few things I didn't want to talk to you guys specifically about that's in the news, but I wanted to say just quickly before we move off this topic. People don't like Democrats. People hate Democrats right now. People hate Democrats more than Republicans. That's what the polling shows, right? It might not, even Republicans in power, that's currently what the polling shows. That more people are dissatisfied with Democrats, but they still might vote for them in the next election, right? If that's the public perception, whether or not Crystal Ball and Ryan Grimm or any of these people are particularly fair in one or two interviews, you're going to meet hostility in the majority of the country because that's how the majority of the country feels towards the Democratic Party.
No,
it might be different. It might be different.
What you did though. You're hand.
Let him finish. Let him finish.
No, I'm just.
I'm not. Wait. Let me be clear. Let me make my position on Crystal Ball perfectly clear. When Crystal Ball talks, the country is worse off. That is my official position on Crystal Ball. I really don't. Now, of course, it's because I care about a certain issue and I see her speak so ignorantly on it. I assume that's how she speaks on other topics. I can't truly know because I'm not an expert on all these other topics. But when I see her speak about Ukraine, she is as less knowledgeable as I can imagine. But at the end of the day, a lot of people are not knowledgeable in Ukraine. A lot of people are not knowledgeable in all sorts of topics, and the Democrats have this negative perception. If you want to be president of the United States, you have to learn to go into rooms where everybody hates you and you somehow make progress, where people will ask unfair questions of you and you will actually get something beneficial out of it. And so whether or not this question was good, I think that this is a good, candidates should have to have their nose broken before they run for president of the United States. Politically, of course. In some cases physically, but mostly politically.
And we see that. And we see the concept. That's a great image you should pull it up. So by Hutch.
Asking me to share this.
Yeah, this is great. Wait, click into.
Keep in mind another issue too. Again, I don't necessarily disagree with any of these things. It just sucks that only center-left people have to do it right now, or expected to do it right now. They have no safe platforms. But the biggest issue here is the fact that she didn't know that she was signing up for that hardcore of an interview, and there was no reason to expect that it was going to be that hostile, especially from the left-leaning person on the show. Remember, these didn't come from Sagar, which I would understand a little bit more. They came from Crystal. All of them did.
Do it so people can see it.
Wait, can you
read it? Read it.
Dem base right now.
Yeah, so he has a shirt that says "Vote Blue no matter who." I hate Democrats, but I would never, ever, 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 never miss a special election. I promise.
Listen, I'll take a party that has a lot of like dislikes leadership, but just like votes in every special election. Listen, I'll take that. It's not sustainable for the long run, but I'd rather be.
What do you think about Dylan's point though about reps? Because I thought that was an issue for both Biden and for Kamala, and maybe Biden's because of his age. Because honestly, Biden was really good, although he made a lot of obviously slip ups, and he was known for gaffing and stuff. But when he was on it, he was pretty good in some contested settings. If you watch him in the VP debate with Paul Ryan, I thought he was incredibly good in those hostile environments. Pete gets reps, man. He gets reps on these shows. And so what's wrong with the reps argument from D Burns?
No, so the fact that she is doing a more aggressive media schedule, the fact that she's now using populist rhetoric, I don't know if you guys have seen, she's talking about the system being rigged, and she's definitely I don't know, I feel like she's definitely giving out feelers that she's going to run, and she's a serious person, so I would take that seriously in terms of her actually running. I'm not saying her chances, but my point that I was making is that she did handle that question well. I think Soypel fell victim to I'm a victim.
So what's the issue? She handled it well. Then what's the problem? She handled it well then.
All due respect to Soypel, I think you fell victim to the idea of Crystal was so self-assured throughout that entire interview. And when I listened to the substance of what Crystal was asking, and when I actually listened to Slotkin's answers, I don't think it was Slotkin that looked silly in that interview. Okay.
Well, wait, you said you had to watch it twice, Hutch, right? Why did you have to watch it twice to come to that conclusion, though?
No, I didn't. I watched it as a refresher. Yeah. But I had the same exact opinion. You can ask my chat. We watched it at the time. I was like, this is fucking silly. The questions that they're cutting her off.
I'm not even necessarily disagreeing with that. I'm not saying, oh man, Crystal Ball fucking owned Alyssa Slotkin. I'm not. That's a falling victim to that. I'm watching. I'm like, Slotkin's not giving the answers that I think are making her look good here. Even if she is on the money for some of these, I don't think this is a good performance, and it makes me hesitant that if she's on a debate stage, that the same kind of questions are going to make her look good in polls when people reflect on the debate and say, I don't know, Slotkin didn't do well. Even if I agree with her, that's what I'm saying.
Well, I think that's the online bias, but we should talk about Orban a bit. We should.
Orban.
I want to hear Burns' take.
Wait, well, before we get to Burns, can we all agree we can vote out fascism? It's possible. This hope pill for the Democrats in the midterms, and it's like, wow, it's the meme, right? It's you guys are so vindicated. Yeah, Guy and I are vindicated.
Wait, I'm white pilled. I've been white pilled for a while.
I was always skeptical, but yeah, watching Orban get voted out,
Dylan,
let's vote harder.
Why should Americans give a fuck about this? Why is this significant?
Well, I think Americans specifically, they should give a fuck because Orban was the model. Before there was Trump, there was Orban. And people have forgot for a while, but that groove-sounding motherfucker has been lurching in the shadows for the longest period of time. You'd see him at CPAC, you'd see him at conservative conferences. Tucker Carlson was making fawning documentaries about how Orban saved Europe for the Fox News Network before he lost his job and was interviewing people about sucking Obama's dick while on crack. So I think that what that shows is that Orban was a big influence. It was like a mecca for conservatives to go see how you could deal with migrants, how you could deal with the left, how you could deal with the LGBT propaganda. He was a culture war warrior in the middle of Europe.
But he was also a competent usurper, right? Talk about the ways that he concentrated power in Hungary. How did he actually change the?
Okay. Justice Samuel Alito is not retiring. Sources close to Justice Alito confirmed the Fox News report. That he's decided not to step down this year. In addition, sources close to Justice Thomas tell me he's not retiring. Wow. Hold on. Let's get some Vosh slap real quick. Uh-oh.
I've been trying to think about how to begin this episode, which is a very, very tricky one. And I found
not for a guy like me.
myself thinking about a debate I heard a lot in 2023 and 2024. You would hear these chants and
we're getting now the short-term version of the one day everyone will have always been against this from Ezra Klein. Ezra Klein has been a cheerleader and champion of genocide for years. Just
a cheerleader and champion of genocide. Sheesh.
in a moderate, chin stroking kind of way. But now, the needle's moved too far, so he has to pretend that some new revelation has come about that has changed his position, rather than it just being impossible to continue to hold this position in the face of public opinion turning. So now it's like, oh, well, at the time I felt this, but then after Israel did the same thing 500,000 times in a row, that's what changed my mind.
From the river to the sea. And it flared into this huge controversy.
Free Palestine from the river to the sea means get rid of all the Jews.
No, from the river to the sea means the land in between is free. Everyone in between is free.
No, this is a genocidal chant.
What was always so strange to me, so backwards about this focus on college campus protesters, was that there was this reality people weren't really admitting, that there is one power from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea. That power, that sovereign, which if you travel in that area and I have, is just visually undeniable.
It takes so long to say everything. Have you considered the regional power in Israel is Israel? Holy shit, really?
Is Israel. American politics is
a fucking enormously powerful militarized ethno-state given money and weapons by the United States that also has illegal nuclear weapons that it hasn't registered and refuses to acknowledge the existence of, and that wraps every one of.
Is there a place? Do you register your nuclear weapons somewhere? Is that a thing?
What do you mean by I have illegal nukes?
Are you supposed to register them? Is there a place? Maybe there might. There might be some international nuke place where you go to register your nukes at.
Certainly, that country, they have sole control over the region that they have control over.
grappled really at all.
I'm sorry, I hate Ezra Clay. I just hate this like New York Times editorial columnist, chin-stroking Substack motherfucker type who's like arriving at basic, obvious conclusions everyone left of center arrived at ages ago, but they take forever to get there because they were like completely beholden to consultancy beforehand. So now they have to contrive some like intellectual justification for their pulling over like after the average Democratic voter already has. You know? Wow.
With a level of day-to-day domination that Israel exerts over Palestinian lives, and the complete absence of any horizon at all.
Yeah, it's been like that since the Nakba. Like it's been like that unrelentingly for 80 years with no change in the conditions.
What's
they
the
have to continue to
Nakba
have
or whatever?
It's just AIDS. In 47, there was a big, well, it's just, in 47, there was a huge civil war that after, there was this resolution that was put before the United Nations. I believe it was UN Resolution 181. It was the formal partition plan to split the mandatory Palestine area that British was going to hand over to the government of whoever emerged from that area. They was going to split it into two states. It would have been, one state would have been Israel, one state would have been Palestine. And obviously all of the Israeli, all of the Arab states rejected this, of course. And then right after that, the Palestinian Arabs in the area commenced in a civil war against the Jewish people in the area. Initially, it was kind of dicey, but then eventually they fight back. And then in 48, obviously Israel declares itself a nation, and then all of the Arab states try to invade and all this bullshit. But in the course of this war, there are some 700,000 Arab Palestinians that are pushed out of the area that they lived in prior to the conflict beginning in 47. And the Arabs refer to this as the Nakba. I think it stands for tragedy or something, the tragedy or something. But that's so they always refer to that as, they'll say genocide or ethnic cleansing or whatever. So that is the Nakba, is what they're referring to.
Unrelenting, overwhelming control over Palestinian lives for longer than you and I have been alive. Nothing new has happened. Nothing's changed.
For that to end. And this was true before October 7th. In early 2023, the political scientists Michael Barnett, Nathan Brown, Mark Lynch, and Shibli Kalhami published an edited volume called The One-State Reality. Their argument, which also made in a very controversial foreign affairs piece, was that, quote, Palestine is not a state in waiting, and Israel is not a democratic state incidentally occupying Palestinian territory. All the territory west of the Jordan River has long constituted a single state under Israeli rule, where the land and the people are subject to radically different legal regimes.
That's such a crazy and controversial argument. That's fucking why they really said that. That thing that's been true for 80 years that everyone everywhere knows. That's crazy.
And Palestinians
has been true for 80 years. It's been true for 60 years. He's just not acknowledging, because no pro-Pali person acknowledges this, that west of the Jordan River, well, actually the Gaza Strip was run by Egypt from 48 to 67, and the West Bank was run by Jordan. Jordan even formally annexed the West Bank into their country, but whatever.
Permanently treated.
I guess if you mostly got your news from the New York Times, from Ezra Klein, this might actually be really novel to you. You're like, well, I'll be. It's like some kind of apartheid state over there. You're telling me that Palestinians and Israelis have two different sets of laws to follow? Why isn't anyone talking about this?
As a lower caste. What they were saying then is that the hope of a two-state solution in the future had become a way, many in America particularly, avoided reckoning with the one-state reality of the present. That reality was not accidental, it was not, it is not intended to be transient. It was being etched into the land in stone and cement, in settlements and checkpoints, in the construction of walls and the demolition of homes. That might have been a controversial claim when they made it.
In 2023. I'm saying, like, I can't. I got an email recently from someone who was like, "Do you think Ezra Klein's more reasonable than you think?" Really, this guy? That might. Now listen, viewer. That might sound crazy. All those things I just told you. What's with this affect he's pushing to make 80 IQ people feel smart? It's basically like the liberal equivalent of neo-Nazi Twitter midwits who pretend that they've read like Evol or whatever. You know, they're the kind of person who talks about fascism not in a, like, we're all race war way, but more in like, yes, it's true. Mankind has always been following the curvature of its evolutionary trajectory, and it seems our trajectories diverge sometime. And it's just like,
okay, but true.
You like get to the real what they're saying, and they're basically saying like black people scary. You know, but it's meant to make you feel smart. It's meant to make you feel smart. You're so smart.
What has happened since October 7th has made it an undeniable reality. Israel now occupies more than half of Gaza. More than 2 million Gazans have been
actually occupies all of Gaza, because occupation refers not only to the literal physical presence of soldiers, but also to political and military dominion, which they
not really. This is a retarded argument, but okay.
They have complete and absolute power over.
Herded into less than half of the land they formerly occupied, and Gaza, it should be said, was already one of the most overcrowded places on earth. The conditions Gazans now live in.
I feel very on the money so far that this is a video justifying a change in perspective that he's had for the first time in a many decades long career. Not many, but like several decades long career. But so far, every piece of evidence he cited that justifies change in position is from 80 years ago.
And there is no near term, there's no imagined, there's no envisioned relief. This is and it remains collective punishment. Hamas, not the children of Gaza, attacked Israel on October 7th. The conditions the children of Gaza now live in are not, they're not more
revolutionary stuff. If you read the New York Times and you were under the impression that October 7th was when a fucking company of Palestinian children invaded Israel.
In the West Bank, Israel has choked off money to the Palestinian Authority. It has built settlements, chosen to build settlements at a record pace.
They didn't just appear there on their own. Fucking $20,000 more to a Substack.
This is the issue, man. That really gets the kids fired up.
Jesus.
If they chose to build it, if they didn't just spontaneously erupt like acne from the earth.
Settlements were approved in the last year alone than in the 2 decades before combined. Israel has allowed, has protected a terrifying rise in settler violence and military violence towards Palestinians. There is no doubt if you go there who rules the West Bank, and it is not the PA. When Netanyahu signed a recent settlement project, a project the United States had opposed for a long time because it would effectively bisect the West Bank, making a Palestinian state physically unimaginable. Netanyahu made clear that that was exactly why he was signing it.
It's sanitizing the liberal Zionist perspective. I personally just think it's important to remember that none of these people believe in fucking anything. That authentic, sincere belief has been scoured from the surface of the American political consultancy classes as effectively as a solar flare would scour the magnetosphere of the earth. It's all gone. It literally doesn't exist. It might have some time ago. 100 years ago, things might have been different, but not now. I don't think it would actually scour the magnetosphere. It'd scour the ozone, right? I don't know. I don't really know how the sun works. It's like a god, right? The sun's a god, and there's a solar flare when he's mad at you. I don't know. Don't worry about it. Yes? Okay, gotcha.
He said, we are going to fulfill our promise. There will be no Palestinian state. This place belongs to us. In the north, Israel has used war in Iran as cover to invade Lebanon, displacing more than 1 million people. 1 million. And
he said like 1 million, like it's shocking, and not just like a number you could...
Hezbollah terrorists.
Nobody ever deals with any of the other concerns of that. We don't talk about that. We don't talk about those people here.
The Hezbollah terrorists, not the Lebanese people.
We don't talk about that here.
Okay. All right, you're right.
I mean, there is, like, regardless of them going after, like, Israel always has a valid security concern, but they also
there will be citizens displaced, etc. Right?
Well, but they also push it really far. Like, sure, like Hezbollah is a real thing, but like if you're a Lebanese person and you're being kicked out of your home, you probably don't. The Israelis are probably having a worse effect on you at that point in time than the Hezbollah is.
Hezbollah.
Yeah.
I hate inauthenticity. I really do. I understand that to an extent, if you work in politics, a degree of inauthenticity is necessary. If for no other reason than because the average voter has the, I don't know, mental faculties of a cow.
So question, why wouldn't the Lebanese government go in then and deal with Hezbollah?
Hezbollah is way too powerful. There is no, I don't even know if Lebanon has like
Are we doing this as like a Mexico equivalent? It's like the cartels are too powerful for Mexico to deal with?
Yeah, but more. Hezbollah is at one point in time, Hezbollah, I believe, had more missiles. I think like their stockpiles like 5 years ago, it was supposed to be the largest missile stockpile, I think, on the planet, right? Somebody can tell me from around that. Hezbollah is just an insanely powerful military organization, or they were, but somehow Israel got under their shit with the Patriot shit a while ago. But I think it was in the I always mix these. In the 80s, there were a couple like Lebanese civil wars where Israel went up and they kind of fucked shit up for a while, and they fucked Hezbollah shit up for a while. But the something happened. They got a leader. They grew. They became more sophisticated in their techniques. In 2006, when Israel tried to go in and fuck up Hezbollah again, the Israeli military got absolutely fucking like ball smacked. It was not even close, which was not like conceivable to the IDF at the time because they'd been so used to beating up on like all the second intifada Palestinian. Yeah, basically, it was not like huge threats to them. So, but now Hezbollah got completely wrecked out.
What I just like I don't understand why some of these I guess Arab governments and I will even go with Mexico to an extent. Why do you let like these terrorist organizations exist within your state?
Well, you don't want
why,
them to.
Why don't you ask someone for help?
Well, who's going to help you?
So I am sure Israel would probably want to work with Lebanon. I'm sure the United States could work with them. No,
a
even
little
if Mexico
bit, but
tomorrow asked like, can you come help us with our cartel problem? I think Donald Trump would be like, yeah, let's figure it out.
Maybe. I don't know how involved that would look, but the issue that you run into in the Middle East is the leaders that are there are largely there from the partitioning of the Middle East after World War I, and these are all royal families that have close allegiance with and work with and cooperate with the United States of America. The leadership are all very Western aligned, obviously because they work with us, and as a consequence of that, they're very Israel aligned. The populations, maybe not as much. It's hard to know sometimes. People will talk about like the Arab Street, and it's like the opinion for kind of like a lot of the people in these Gulf states, in Egypt, and in the Middle East, and in Lebanon or whatever. But like, So you run into an issue where like the leadership might be supportive of Israel, but like would the citizens be supportive of Israel, like going in and working with an Arab state? Although to be fair, Lebanon is like supposed to be like a tri-equal state between 3 different groups of people instead of just Arab Muslim or whatever. But it would be a really big deal to invite Israel in to come and work with you to kick somebody out. I just for a variety of like geopolitical reasons, I just don't know.
Sovereignty as well.
Yeah, it puts you in a weird spot because all the other Arab people are looking at you weird. I don't even know if the leadership in these Arab states would think it's a good idea. Israel also is like notorious. We now know this from our own perspective over the past few months. Israeli leadership just doesn't apparently have any mind at all for any other Arab leaders or any other leaders around the planet. They only think about their own leaders and how their own leaders look on the world stage. They have zero consideration for how other people look. Yeah. People are saying Lebanon doesn't even recognize Israel as a state right now. Yeah, that might be the case. I'm not sure who does or doesn't. So they might not. Yeah, so it's just a lot. Yeah.
I mean, it all seems fucked over there. I don't know what you want me to say. It's
pretty fucked. It's kind of fucked. Yeah.
Some ideas because they genuinely wouldn't understand the actual plan. I understand. I get that. Okay. But this degree of inauthenticity genuinely sickens me. You can be like you can engage in every bad fake defense of Israel, every time-wasting, pro-clutching, hand-waving defense. We need to move past this conversation, pretending it doesn't matter, pretending that if it does matter, we're doing all we can over and over and over and over and over again. And then finally you change your mind, and your justification for doing so is this poorly thought out. Not even any like real reckoning with your conscience. He's not even like after believing these things for so long. Like, is he suggesting that he didn't know all this? Like none of this information was available to him, Ezra Klein, this whole time? Why is he telling us this? You're the one who changed your mind. I haven't changed my mind. I've been morally consistent since day one. Wow. I've always believed this. Okay. So you're the one who changed your mind. You tell me. Why did you change your mind? You're just telling me why I should agree with you now. I already knew why. I can't. It's infuriating to me. It's so fucking infuriating to me. It's so angry that like you can just. I don't even care that he makes money from it or that he's powerful or whatever, because he doesn't. He is. You know what I care about, I guess, is the idea that like this is the only way you can do things now. You know, like it's in the environment that has been created. There's not only room for this to flourish, but like it's the only thing that can.
What is this consultancy thing Vosh keeps saying? So remember, all the lefties are of the belief that basically 80% of the Democratic Party is ready to be full-on socialist. It's just like weird things being put in the way. The billionaires, the elites, you know, they got this concept of manufactured consent that the media is actually, even if people aren't left-leaning, it's just because the media is forcing them not to be by brainwashing them. And one of the talking points they like to use is that the people that are telling Democratic politicians how to run their campaigns and how to operate are like these elite consultants. And these consultants, the consultancy class is being paid a lot of money by big business billionaires to tell the Democratic Party how to function and operate. And that's why they don't bring out our socialist candidates or whatever. So it's like the consultancy class, basically.
So it's not the voters.
Correct. It's never the voters.
600,000 will not be allowed to return to their homes until Israel has established its security zone, whatever that proves to be, and that it's decided that Israelis in the north are safe. To put it bluntly, it is an open question whether any of those 600,000 Lebanese will ever be able to return to their homes
I know.
and have homes.
I know because I read news sources that aren't the New York Times. What's your point?
To return to. I do not want to underplay what Israel's actually dealing with here. I have immense sympathy for Israel's war against Hezbollah. They're defending themselves in a way any state would.
By invading the state, occupying it, demolishing all of the residences, displacing over 1 million people, and then creating settlements illegally to establish a buffer zone so you can continue, just like any state would, really.
But this, again, is collective punishment. Those million Lebanese, they're not all Hezbollah. Israel's security challenges are very real. Its horror, its fear, its trauma after October 7th was very real. Its
I haven't heard about it.
Termination to make sure that never happened again is what any state and any people would do.
The trauma
against Hamas and Hezbollah were undeniable. I'm not.
See, this is always that's why this conversation goes nowhere. Is because nobody on either side, on either extreme side, will recognize the trauma or whatever the fuck from the other side. So it's just a brain dead. It's a waste of fucking time. All these people are a waste of fucking time.
Someone who wants to see the state of Israel cease to exist. Well, what Israel is choosing here.
Ezra Klein speaking directly to his AIPAC handlers. You know, please listen. I'm still on your side. I'm still laundering Israeli propaganda, but the shift in democratic public opinion is forcing me to take a slightly different stance on this.
A one-state reality that already is and will continue to be understood the world over as apartheid. It endangers that state too. The cost of Israel cannot morally be the permanent subjugation of millions of Palestinians. In February, Gallup found for the first time more American sympathizers with the Palestinians than the Israelis.
So he hasn't actually changed his mind? Nope. Hence the position one day everyone will have always been against this. He's this inauthentic piece of shit isn't even explaining how he changed his mind, even though that is what he's saying he's doing. He's pretending that he's always had this position. He's just catching you up on what he believes and what he's always believed.
Among Democrats, among young Americans, it is not even close.
And here's why.
Israel maintains support among older Americans, and it has benefited from the advanced age of the last two presidents. Their views of Israel forged in another time, around another Israel.
It was the same Israel.
American politics.
This is why I'm also saying that, like, there's no point in ever trying to appeal to these people. You will never, ever come far enough. It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what you do. Nothing will ever be enough for these people. So I don't know why the fuck people try to waste their time on it.
Has not yet fully grappled with what Israel has chosen to become.
It always was this.
For decades, my entire
as infuriating as it is, it's still a good sign people like him are turning, but he's not turning. He still believes what he believes. He's actively lying to you because he's trying to remain relevant. Why would he want to remain relevant without actually shifting his opinion? Because he remains their agent. An agent of Israel, an agent of the deep state. Why else would he, or let me put it another way, why an inauthentic turn if he actually was changing his mind? Because this is absolutely inauthentic. Why not an authentic turn? If he was only trying to remain popular, then he would be anti-Israel. Why stay pro-Israel? And why frame it in such a disingenuous way? Because his perspective is unchanged. He is still an ally to the project of genocide. He now, rather than directly opposing it or pretending that it's, not happening at all, now he will do what every liberal fucking shitlib pundit will do, which is waste time by, half-assing solutions or acting as though the left is poisoning the well by being anti-Semitic, even though the left was right in everything they said, and he's now moving to that position, even as he pretends that he's not. Seems authentic to me. I don't know. Thanks, guy who only reads NYT. Phenomenal. The music really does it, I guess. The fake,
life. Discourse in America around Israel has always been couched in the future tense. It has always sat in the language of solutions. Do you support a two-state solution? Do you support a one-state solution? I don't think this is a time to talk about solutions. I think that is a way of sheltering ourselves.
The reason he doesn't want to talk about it is because it's become increasingly obvious that no version of that problem can be solved while Israel exists in the form that it does. Like, you want a one-state solution? You can't because Israelis are evil. You want a two-state solution? You can't because Israelis are evil. If you talk about solutions, you have to talk about the obstacle to implementing them, and the obstacle in both cases is that Israel is evil, so he can't talk about it. He doesn't want to talk about anything that would betray just how bad the problem is.
What is actually happening? I think what is needed now is simply a confrontation with realities.
Phenomenal. Didn't even acknowledge. Just we need to engage with reality. After 3 years of this, man, 3 fucking years of this. God, I hate him. I hate him so much. In a way, it's kind of like the pundit version of the revolving door villain theory. No, left it at that. Yeah. No apologies to all the people that he smeared or all the bad faith. And just go look at everything that he's contributed to the New York Times, everything he said about Israel.
No offense. Or I don't even know why I'm saying no offense. Who the fuck is Ezra Klein smearing? I feel like Ezra Klein is like the most fucking milquetoast liberal dude. Like, who the fuck is he smearing?
And boy, does he write a lot. Man, he writes a lot. Deep State loves him. Remember his Tahiti Coast debate? And don't forget the monstrous people he's platformed. I won't.
So that's a populist position of like, oh, Ezra Klein, he's like bought and paid for by like the deep state, like da-da-da, yeah?
Yeah, of course, yeah. This is like, it's all like Israel, AIPAC, deep state, handlers, the consultancy class. There's
like
always
a boogeyman.
Yes, always a boogeyman, because you can't ever point to him either, right? There's always some big amorphous blob behind the scenes that's controlling everything, and that's why you always have an excuse for why you lost everything, why you weren't able to win your elections or weren't able to accomplish what you wanted to, because of the big boogeyman.
Yep.
Just informing his Zionist handlers that he's going to be shifting his rhetoric slightly, and he's trying to appease
what up, buddy?
The leftward shifting Democratic base on this issue. Somebody smells midterm change approaching. As this becomes more of a 90-10 issue among Democrats, the Zionists are going to have to find ways to cloak themselves amidst you. They're going to have to find ways to make their prayers more palatable when, basically every single Democrat in America is uniformly anti-Israel. Always have well, no, they're mentally out soon. The Dems are going to force out the non-pro-Israel candidate in 2028, aren't they? I mean, the 3 people most likely to run that we know of right now are Sluck, Gavin Newsom, and Kamala Harris, and all 3 of them are...
Bro, it's so far into the future for presidential election. Oh my god.
Hi.
So you take your pick. And Gavin Newsom force out the non-pro-Israel candidate in 2028, aren't they? I mean, the 3 people most likely to run that we know of right now are Sluck, Gavin Newsom, and Kamala Harris, and all 3 of them are slaves to Israel. So you take your pick.
Problem, Trollface?
1 second.
You got a problem with that?
Whoever
is the biggest slave.
is going
Can
to
I
be
join the
most
Discord voice chat?
on on accountability.
Oh, against Israel?
No, against the Trump administration.
Fuck you. Hey, do you care? Want to make a difference about politics? Digital Ground Game and I are inviting you to participate in organizing for the upcoming midterms. If you want to join a canvassing house or come to events, or just...
Hey everyone, the excitement surrounding the Artemis II mission has finally begun to dissipate a little bit, but there's still a lot to talk about in terms of the future goals of the Artemis program. What's coming next and what are the long-term intentions? Let's talk a little bit about what we might be seeing over the coming decades. The Artemis program officially began in 2017, and the name comes from the Greek goddess who is the sister of Apollo, thus spiritually linking the Artemis program to the legendary Apollo program of the 60s and 70s. There were 17 Apollo missions in total, so Artemis has a long way to go in order to match the achievements of her little brother, but the plans are already spectacular as they stand. For those who are unaware, the initial stated goal of the program was to return humans to the moon. Artemis 1 was an uncrewed moon-orbiting mission. This was to test the new Orion spacecraft and Space Launch System rocket to make sure everything was ready for astronauts. Artemis 2, which we just observed, sent 4 astronauts on a lunar flyby. This was the first time humans had been to deep space since the Apollo missions. It was also the farthest humans have ever been from Earth, just edging out the previous record from Apollo 13. They also conducted the first ever space-to-space call, chatting with astronauts on the International Space Station, and they performed a number of interesting experiments. The Avatar experiment placed stem cells from the 4 astronauts on chips to gather information about the effects of radiation and microgravity on biological tissue, and testing of optical communications was performed. Overall, the mission was a great success that reignited enthusiasm for space travel in the general public. In case you've been living under a rock, let's enjoy a montage of some of the incredible footage and images that the Artemis II mission gave us, set to one of my own songs specifically inspired by the future of space travel, called The Emergence.
Why the hell did that happen? That's fucking buggy.
So what's next? As we said, the goal is to put people back on the lunar surface, which will require a lunar lander. This will be either SpaceX's Starship HLS or Blue Origin's Blue Moon. So Artemis 3, planned for mid-2027, will involve testing one or both of these in Earth orbit. Rendezvous and docking operations will occur, as well as tests regarding propulsion, life support, communications systems of the landers, and new spacesuits that will be used on the lunar surface. In this way, Artemis 2 and 3 resemble Apollo missions 8 and 9, respectively, given the parallel mission goals. If everything goes smoothly, Artemis 4 is planned to launch in early 2028, carrying astronauts to the lunar surface once again. The Space Launch System will send an Orion spacecraft into orbit, just like it did for Artemis 2, while a human landing system lunar lander will have to be sent up privately for rendezvous with Orion, and the precise lander will depend on the results of Artemis 3. While the Apollo missions typically had astronauts on the lunar surface for only a day or two, or a record-setting 75 hours in the case of Apollo 17, Artemis 4 astronauts are expected to spend about a week on the moon, specifically at the unexplored South Pole region. And finally, Artemis 5 is planned for late 2028 and will begin the process of building a permanent lunar base that will ideally serve as a prototype for an eventual Martian base. As always, this timeline is subject to revision, as was the case with the first two missions, especially given the uncertain status of NASA's funding in this and subsequent administrations. But these are the plans as they stand at this current time. This leads us to a tantalizing possibility that so many of us have pondered our whole lives. What would it be like to live on another celestial body? We've seen it in countless movies and TV shows, colonies on the moon, on Mars, on other planets and moons in the solar system, and even other star systems altogether. But now we are very seriously planning to take this step as a species. What will these bases look like? Who will live there, and what will they do? And perhaps most importantly, what are the biological concerns regarding living off of Earth? We are the products of hundreds of millions of years of evolution that occurred on Earth under a specific set of environmental inputs. What challenges will our bodies face on other worlds? How do we address key challenges regarding radiation, reduced gravity, extreme environments, and psychological stressors? How will children born on other worlds be fundamentally different from the rest of us? Will we evolve? If so, how and how fast? Believe it or not, there are plenty of academics who spend a lot of time thinking about these questions. One such academic is Dr. Scott Solomon, professor of biosciences at Rice University. Yes, the same Rice University where this happened.
Mr. Farina!
Don't worry, they're not all like James Tour over there. Scott has a doctorate in ecology, evolution, and behavior, and his expertise regarding biological diversity has allowed him to investigate this very research question. What will happen to humans that are in space for a long time? In fact, this is the subject of his new book, Becoming Martian: How Living in Space Will Change Our Bodies and Minds. This question is just as crucial as all the engineering endeavors that allow us to build the equipment to take us to these places, since we have to function in proper health in order for these colonies to be successful. So it deserves significant discussion as well. There are a lot more factors in play than you might think, and I had a chat with Scott to discuss some of them. So let's talk to Scott now. Scott, thanks so much for joining us. We're going to talk a lot here about moon bases and Mars bases and all kinds of amazing things, but let's just start with what we know. So we know that people have been up to the ISS and have been dealing with free fall for long durations, which is why they have equipment on board and things like that. People have also been to the moon, which is 1/6 Earth's gravity, but not for long enough to get significant biomedical data. So let's talk a bit. Do we have a sense of what would happen if humans were subjected to partial gravity on the lunar surface for long periods of time?
Yeah, you've brought up some really important points. We don't know about 1/6 gravity for much time at all, right? 3 days is like the max that anybody spent there.
Or even 1 day, right? Or I thought it was like 24 hours.
Less. Yeah. I think the longest of some of the Apollo missions was about 3 days. But and NASA chose not to actually collect much biomedical data, even on those that did go. So what was happening to them during those, 1 to 3 days? We have some idea, like they were okay, generally speaking.
Right.
There was one cardiac incident that we know about, but not anything life-threatening. So the short answer is, we don't actually know much. We can try to extrapolate, right? So we can sort of make some educated guesses about how much does our knowledge of being weightless, quote unquote 0G, give us insight into what it would be like to be in a lower gravity environment for a long amount of time. But maybe being in at least some gravity is enough, right? That's a possibility. Maybe our muscles and our bones don't weaken as much in 1/6 G as they do in 0G, or maybe they don't at all. The short answer is we don't know.
Yeah, because on the ISS they have those kind of treadmills and things like that. How frequently do they have to do that kind of stuff? Maybe we would have to do that just a lot less, or they'd have to do some kind of special lunar exercises or something. I don't know.
That's right. Yeah, on ISS they exercise 2 hours a day every single day.
Wow, that's more than I thought.
No days off. Yeah, it's a lot, and treadmill is part of it. It's also resistance exercise. So not weightlifting, of course, because weight has no meaning, but like resistance bands, that kind of thing. So they keep their muscles from getting too weak, and then because bone responds to muscle, that helps to minimize the bone density loss, but it doesn't eliminate it.
Right. Okay, so that's one issue. Another issue is radiation, right? Because here on Earth we have this wonderful magnetic field. The moon doesn't have a magnetic field, so they're subjected to a lot more radiation exposure. So I guess just being there for a day or two, maybe it wasn't such an enormous concern. But if we're going to be there long term, ideally we're going to build some kind of base and shield ourselves. But while we're building that, what do we do? Are we going to live underground? What's going to happen? And if underground, what are the psychological ramifications of that? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, there's a lot there. So as you said, there's no magnetic field on the moon. It's far enough from Earth that it's outside of the protection of Earth's magnetic field, which is not the case for the International Space Station. I think it's worth pointing pointing that out. People sometimes don't realize that the ISS is close enough to Earth that it's getting shielded from a lot of that deep space radiation, you do experience, and the Artemis 2 astronauts have experienced as they've made their way around the moon. So yes, there are ways to block it, right? So you could create, a habitat that has enough shielding on it that you're not being exposed to it, or as you point out, you could go underground. It doesn't take that much lunar regolith to block, most of that radiation. I forget what the exact estimates are, but it's something like, only like 4 inches, I want to say, something like that. It's not actually all that much. So one possibility is, whatever you're using as your habitat, whether it's like a lunar lander that you've then converted into a habitat, you just pile that, that moon dirt, that lunar regolith right on top, and that could help you quite a bit. But the thing is, if you're going out, if you're doing any work out on the surface, if you're going exploring, I think people don't want to go to the moon and then just like stay underground all the time. You are being exposed to a fair amount of radiation.
Right.
There's also no atmosphere. That's the other thing, right? So on the surface of the Earth, it's the magnetic field and our atmosphere that are both doing some shielding.
Right, because cosmic rays are scattered in the upper atmosphere, so that all kind of dissipates. Yeah, so that's an interesting point you bring up. There's only a few inches, or possibly a makeshift kind of shelter would suffice. But then the thing is, you're going out for a couple hours at a time. Then cumulatively, if you're living there for months on end, that does add up to very significant exposure. Way more than the Apollo astronauts even just being there on the surface for a day straight. So I guess that is something to consider.
The other thing is like solar activity, right? So galactic cosmic rays are one of the challenges, but it's also a solar radiation. And so, as we know, sometimes the sun is more active, and that's been happening recently. We've been seeing flares or coronal mass ejections. If that kind of a thing happens, then it would be, a lot more radiation that would be heading towards the moon.
Yeah, and if you're there for a day, roll the dice. But if you're there for months and months, you're probably going to get a solar flare at some point. So we do need a plan for that. Lots
the
to
good
think
news
about.
there is that they at least have some warning, right? So there is some amount of time between when that activity happens on the sun and when it actually reaches the moon. So as long as we're monitoring it and sending the alarm signal up, they could potentially go and see.
Is it like 10 minutes, or how long does it take? Because it's near light speed.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. So it's not a lot. It's not a lot of time, but hopefully enough that people could, take shelter.
Yeah, I actually do. I don't know if you watch For All Mankind on Apple TV. I do love that show. And there is that one scene where that female astronaut, there is that solar flare, and one astronaut kind of falls, and she makes the decision to go and rescue him. But the exposure in that 30 seconds or so, she comes back, she goes blind and stuff. It's that's pretty
There's
crazy.
a lot of good science in that show. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's
I love just the standpoint of like thinking about everything that could happen scientifically, and then just building a fictional narrative around it. Like, oh, that's a thing. Okay, then now that's a plot point in this episode.
Exactly.
It's pretty great.
Yeah, no, it's fun.
Yeah. Okay, so thinking even longer term than that, right? We're thinking, okay, a few months we got to build a base. Now we're talking about really sustained human settlements. So if that is the case, that means there will, ideally one day be the first baby that is born on the moon or on Mars, even, or just in space, in orbit or whatever, just anywhere but here. So that would be a huge first. Let's talk about childbirth first. How would childbirth work in zero gravity or lunar gravity or Mars gravity? What would be different there?
Well, I think there's a lot of things, but any kind of a medical procedure is much more complex in a zero-G environment, right? We saw actually with Artemis 2, they were practicing doing CPR, right? Because it sounds like a simple thing to do, but because you push on somebody and they go back and you go back, so like that actually is a more complicated thing.
Yeah.
And so just the logistics of trying to create a clean environment for a child to be born in would be tricky. If there's any complications that happen during the pregnancy, it could be a lot more complicated, right? That it involves the potential of like requiring a cesarean section, a C-section birth, any kind of a surgical procedure in a zero-G environment is quite complex, because then you have to contain blood and other body fluids.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think that's an important point to consider. But then there's the possibility that the person that is giving birth may be in a weakened state, right? So if you are somebody who has been in a lower gravity environment for some amount of time, then you have to take into consideration possibly weaker muscles, potentially more brittle bones, and some of the bones that tend to become more brittle because of being in a lower gravity environment include the pelvis and the hip, and those are of course, bones that are relevant for childbirth.
Yeah.
And we know that if there are fractures in those bones, for example, in the pelvis during childbirth or before it, it can be something that could lead to substantial additional complications. So I think childbirth could be a lot more risky in that lower gravity environment. Now, again, I'm talking sort of like starting off with zero-G. Partial gravity becomes, again, that thing where like how much can we extrapolate? How much do we know it should be easier, a little bit better, but how much better?
Yeah, zero gravity seems kind of impossible to me. I think lower grav without the issue of containing fluids, or at least not this disaster of all the fluids floating around, maybe then like mandatory C-sections might be a way to do it, but who knows? Maybe we'll figure something else out. Then the other thing though, Right, the baby when babies, or when the fetus is developing on Earth, the fetus is in contact with any microbial life that the mother is surrounded by, externally, internally, and then once the baby is born, obviously they're born into this world of microorganisms everywhere. So how would that differ? I mean, on the moon, like the lunar environment doesn't have all of these microorganisms. I mean, I'm sure we bring some with us, but what's different there?
Yeah, I think this is a really important thing to think through. So, as far as we know, as a fetus is gestating inside the womb, it's in a sterile environment. Like, we don't think there are any microorganisms that it's interacting with then. So we get our microbiome, all of those bacteria and other microbes that we now know are actually really important for our bodies. We get them partially through the process of being born. So as we pass through the birth canal, we are acquiring some of our mother's microbes, and that's how our microbiome first gets seeded. And then as we are kind of going out into the world and interacting with other individuals, our mother, but also other family members, and then, as you think about like a toddler going out and putting everything in their mouth, right? Like, part of what's going on is they are establishing their microbiome, and our immune systems are developing and being able to fight off, most of those microbes that could otherwise make us sick. So
slowly and iteratively, one step at a time, one pathogen at a time. Yeah.
Right. And so, as you point out, we know that we will bring some of those microbes with us to space. Like, there have been these cool microbial studies on the ISS that show it's not sterile. Like, there's microbes growing there, and they are actually doing interesting things that we can get into. But, we know that we bring them with us. So there will be some microbes, in a moon base or anywhere that we go in space. But it's only going to be what we take with us. And what we take with us is only a tiny slice of all of the microbial diversity of Earth. So you and I, we're breathing air right now. We're taking in all different sorts of microbes. And for the most part, they're not harmful to us.
Right. Commensal, infectious, all variety.
Yeah.
I wonder if it'll be the point of like figuring out, like, it'll be a newborn fecal transplant for everyone, right? Something like that.
Well, and that is actually something that's being experimented with on Earth even right now, because we know, like, when a C-section birth happens, that part of that seeding of the microbiome doesn't happen in the same way. It's ideally a sterile procedure. So, there's some interesting evidence that suggests that, like, it is beneficial to find ways to seed that baby's microbiome with mother's microbes. And so there's some tests that are kind of trying to see if that can be done. So, maybe we will apply that same technique to what's happening in space. But even still, right? Yeah. It's still going to be less microbial diversity than what a child on Earth would be exposed to.
Right. And as long as they have whatever they need in the microbiome, that's one thing. But then in terms of pathogens, I guess the idea is, like, if this is a permanent colony and a lot of these people are presumed to never go to Earth ever, like, maybe at all, maybe it's just sort of this thing of like, oh, that's an Earth pathogen, so we don't need to protect against that. We live on the moon or we live on Mars. But then the question becomes, this is an isolated colony. People coming to the colony may be carrying, the ultimate nightmare is an outbreak, of some kind, a pandemic for some Earth-based pathogen on a lunar or Martian colony that is not equipped to, even influenza or something like that. That would be crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's worth thinking, though, through how, like, there's the potential of minimizing the numbers of infectious diseases in a settlement in space, including on the moon. Because you can do quarantine, you can avoid most pathogens from getting there. So, like, at face value, that's a really good thing, right? Like, hey, no malaria on the moon because there's no mosquitoes, hopefully, and like other infectious diseases that we can take basic steps to prevent their introduction to the space environment. But if somehow something does make it there, and if you've now got generations of people that have never been exposed to it, then you've got sort of what happened when the first Europeans came to the Americas all over again. Yeah, you've got a whole bunch of people that have no resistance to these infectious diseases, and we know how disastrous that can be.
Oh boy, yeah, that's another sci-fi series right there. The first space pandemic.
Well, and it's funny because it's actually been explored in science fiction, going all the way back to H.G. Wells and War of the Worlds. Because that was, like, ultimately what stopped the high-tech Martians, right, from invading Earth was Earth's bacteria. So,
gave it a cold, just like
it's I think very relevant for our future, but it's actually one of the sort of oldest ideas in sci-fi.
Okay, so continuing with this concept of just these isolated populations, another thing to think about from the standpoint of evolutionary biology, we could what is the possibility of seeing these populations diverge from Earth's population? What kind of changes would we see in terms of phenotype? What might happen there?
Yeah, this was actually the thing that got me into this topic in the first place, because, as you know, I'm an evolutionary biologist, and thinking about the idea of taking a small number of individuals from one place and then putting them in a new environment that is different. That is what happens all the time on Earth when, like, an island gets seeded by new life, and we understand quite a bit about what happens, right? I mean, I became a biologist after going to the Galapagos Islands as a researcher, as an undergraduate student, and I think it's no coincidence that going back all the way to Charles Darwin, it's islands that have inspired evolutionary biologists, and that we keep going back to islands to study that process. So we know a lot about what happens, and isolation is a key part of it. So being just separated from other members of your species is part of what kind of kickstarts that separation that can eventually lead to, like, the formation of new species.
Right. Yeah. Different set of stimuli to adapt to. Of course. I mean, that makes perfect sense. And then the other issue, though, is how small the population would be. Now, there you have enhanced genetic drift, I think, because of how small the population size is. Are we going to see faster evolution? Are they going to evolve much more rapidly than organisms on Earth?
Yeah, so there's a few things here. So one is that you're absolutely right that the size of the founding population is known to be a really important factor in island biology and island evolution. We have this thing called the founder effect, where basically like the number of founding individuals and their genetic diversity has a really big impact on what can come next. And usually what we see is a loss of genetic diversity. I mean, usually it's like whoever gets there is not a representative slice of the population that they came from, right?
Yeah, no matter how hard we try, depending how many people it is, yeah.
Yeah, so the number matters, the kind of genetic composition matters, and then how much contact there is between that population and the source population moving forward. All of that matters. But you were asking about the rate of change, and the rate of change is something interesting too, because there's a couple of factors that affect the rate of change. One is basically like how strong is natural selection, and that's sort of a function of like how bad is it to be there, like how different is the environment, right? So imagine like two islands, you go from one to the other, and it's basically the same environment. Okay, no big deal. So like selection's not very strong. If the environment is dramatically different, then any individual that has a slight advantage over the others in being able to live in that environment is much more likely to survive long enough to pass on their genes, and those genes become much more common in each generation. So the strength of natural selection is a function of like how radically different the environment is. The moon, Mars, pretty different environment. I think we can agree on that.
And actually dangerous enough to like, we are no longer in the food chain here on Earth, and we have support systems, and we have hospitals, and we prop up the weak and the, everything. But the Martian landscape is so perilous that maybe we would return to natural selection being a strong driver over there. I mean, with that, and then also the diversity, like, do we have a sense of like what the minimum size of a population would be, whether it's 50 or 300 or what, to like maintain genetic diversity as the colony continues to procreate and proliferate? Do we have any hard data, quantitative data about that kind of stuff?
There have been some models, people have tried to estimate this, and the models range dramatically from 100 to 10,000. But what I would say is that it's hard to really just focus on a number, because the composition matters too. You could have 10,000, you could have 1 million individuals, but if they're like, to be really extreme about it, if they're genetically identical, then actually it doesn't matter, because if they're not well suited to that environment, 1 million genetically identical individuals, they're not going to survive.
The variation would be insufficient.
Bro, I'm literally having a meltdown.
But would be totally at a loss to be able to comprehend how crucial the genetic diversity of sending.
Maybe you guys should jump into like
scientifically.
And this is actually the other part of the
No.
Don't
worry.
Because how strong natural selection is one part, but the other part is what has natural
just so
selection
you know,
selection, all it can do is
just so you're aware, I have to
leave
leave in about 10 minutes.
We can't make new traits. That's what mutation does. So that basically
Don't worry, Daddy.
some genetic diversity.
So I want to
so we can either send
talk
a genetically
through
diverse
whatever's going
population
on,
to start with, and
but like I also
No need to.
want to give you the time you deserve.
And that's where it gets interesting, because
No, bro, I'm not. No. I just said that out of the fucking blue. Like, just saying, I'm having a meltdown now. It's just basically I'm having a meltdown in a positive way. I'm learning. I decided to add the LLM in my learning LLM.
And then you will get a beneficial mutation.
Nice, hell yeah, learning LLMs is super fucking important.
Yeah, nowadays, even like trying to learning how to exploit LLMs.
Good, yeah, that's gonna help you a lot. That's what most people are.
Omega rich.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about right off the bat, but it'll get you on your way to it. Yeah. But yeah, that's a really important thing to learn right now. Yeah. You're gonna need that shit.
I'll probably learn LLMs before quantum computing.
That makes a lot more sense, yeah.
I mean, quantum computing is good, but like LLMs, oh my god, bro.
Yeah.
You learn how to exploit AI?
Yeah, very applicable right now, 100%. Yeah. Good shit, buddy. Yeah, I mean, what else to say but good choice. Fucking smart. Smart decision.
My friend, the good news is my friend from Iran is back, apparently. He somehow managed to tell me that he hasn't been, like, his area was not involved in the war. No bombings, no nothing. We thought he died.
Well, I'm glad he's not dead.
Bro, when he messaged me, bro, I was like, I jumped like a fucking spider monkey.
Yeah, I bet. Good, man. It's scary being over there now.
Sorry that was ever a worry. Yeah, but I'm glad he's okay. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's good to hear, bud.
Yeah.
Losing a friend is hard enough, and losing them to war is really shitty. But comes blackout most of the internet access. Oh yeah, because the internet got blacked out for a lot of Iran. That's true.
Oh yeah, gotta take the dogs out, right? Or maybe
Yeah, they have a blackout and like they cannot have an internet. So my friend had to buy configurations just to access online.
Mm-hmm. It's supposed to be here. Oh, it's gonna be getting here any second. Baby, you might have to hang back.
Okay.
Just because of the timing of everything.
That's good to me. I'm gonna get off of here though.
Yeah.
Bye.
See you guys. Yeah. I'm gonna jump off here in a second too.
I'll see you
I
later.
got some errands to run, but I will be back on later for my night stream. So fear not.
Jordan,
Yeah.
shave your head. I can like say it's growing again.
No, I know. I didn't have time to jump in the shower before the stream today, but I'm gonna do it in between the early stream and the late stream.
I see you later.
Yeah. All right. Take care. Okay. Alrighty, dudes. I'm taking off for now. We'll see you all in a few hours. Like I said, I gotta run some errands and stuff. But yeah, I'll see you all for the night stream. Everybody have a beautiful time. Bye.